So we're here again with Deivyspro, and so we're going to use fundamentals of Unicult as sort of a more or less guidebook for this interview, and maybe we'll talk about the cards of the day or something like that at the end of this. But for now, let's welcome him with his name. And this is, I bought it from Unicole Unicron's Etsy shop. Pretty good price. So this is supposed to be a unicorn. It's supposed to be a unicorn horn. But if you remember my Like the Goetia program number 40, realm meaning unicorn, the unicorns that dominate mythology aren't those cute horse things. There's some scary spirit beings right there. So I don't know. Before we get into that, rather than giving their answers, we're going to go over the subjects that come up in the book. And honestly, I was surprised to see how varied the whole thing is. People know that I'm one of the most outspoken people in terms of Ekankar, even though I don't get much attention. But there's a wider variety of things talked about in this book than all the Ekankar books I was able to buy, receive as gifts, and borrow from libraries. So it's interesting. So let's see if these things can get taken care of.
That's interesting to me. I always also like to study Ekankar. And so this book is about soul travel as well?
Well, it's another sort of quintessential New Age cult, you can say, and they called it Unicult. It sounded like originally she thought to call the thing Uniclub, but Unicult just had a better ring to it, and some other reasons. As I said, I'm not reading the book. It's her book. If she wants to read her book online, that's something she can do. But okay, wait, what was I saying? Okay, let's. I guess so. DS is also I guess the name of your channel, and Deivis I guess you have different levels. What's the word for human in Sanskrit? I don't know the word for human, but the devas, the daivas, or whatever variation you're looking at, those are those lightnings, and they're the equivalent of the Malaka, and except for Christian mythology, angel is kind of divided into two things. In Arabic, you got the fire. You got the fire beings and the light beings. Let's speak in English. So you're talking about being a pro with the light beings, and in the spirit of you said you have some Quran. So I got the Pickthall one right now out on my tape. Well, I don't have it out on my table right now because it's in my hands. But one of the verses that something I say I try to say every evening. I don't require it on myself. That's one problem that I guess I had with the Sufi orders, is they try to require you hours of specific meditations and stuff like this, and on a daily basis. And it was like, well, maybe it's good to do it, but requiring it on me, So Surah 297 through 103. I'm not reading this or anything at the moment, but so it's rather than being an enemy to those light beings, one's sort of a one's part of that party. And so being a pro from keeping from evil, and the light beings are on your side. I didn't articulate that too well, but That's it. So I guess
If I
starting
can
from the
go back a
well,
bit.
if you have any points that you would like to start with, it's
Yes, yes. You mentioned my name. You know, Davis. It does actually come from the word, the Lithuanian word dievas, and the Lithuanian language comes from Sanskrit. So yes, it does come from the word God, which also comes from the word deva. So yes, this is all connected. And the as far as am I on the light side, being a pro, the pro thing was when I kind of was doing some gaming several years back. So we decided on the pro part with my
yeah,
cousin, and that kind of stuck on. Now
that's
the
what I've act that's what you're going to accidentally come across looking for your current channel is your gaming videos when you were a kid or however old you were in that you know.
yes, those were my gaming videos. And the last part of that, it would be, uh DS. At first I didn't know what that meant myself, but then I realized that it's nice. You can nicely add that up to Dark Star or Davis Satolas. I would use that in that way, because that would be kind of like a
Well,
connection
it,
to
it,
the.
yeah, it can tie into both sort of things that people would treat as gods, mainly the light beings and the fire beings, because yeah, most of what people talk about as gods, it doesn't root to other thing. It's the light beings and the fire beings, so it can
Yeah.
kind of tie to words for both of them, demons and angels, all in. But whatever one's intention, just like the chant here. So okay, so the main goal. I love how they call it the outline for global takeover. That's um. So they got 10 points, and okay. So their icon. Okay, which point is the? Oh, I forget which color it's supposed to be. Um, orange. Is that orange or? Yeah, I think that's orange. So for their orange, they're talking about using technology in a feminine sort of way. What opinion would you? How would technology be feminine?
Well, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind is lunar technology. I guess, I don't know a lot about how we use machines now to take energy from the moon or whatever, but I guess that could be done. And another thing, I guess would be sexual energy. Oh, perhaps
Well,
earthly.
apparently the number one source of the use of the internet after CERN and other governments is pornography. So, um, but the thing also with that too that people try it's all the men. It's like, have you seen the women's fiction books? Not all of them, but acting like it's one gender. But honestly, if you're talking about visual pornography and stuff too, it's the women to just because they're the it's like these television shows. You can tell what's written by one group or the other to a certain degree, and it's like, well, sometimes it's because of censorship issues, and it's like, if people are being paid to dry hump each other, it's pornography. Stop pretending. But anyways, so yeah, they're she Eve is their she had a goal of opening a sex robot brothel. So the brothel would be you'd have to pay more to be the first to take the first run at the robot, but you know you figure for legal reasons and whatnot, they cleaned the robot, and so they were trying to, I guess, that's the thing. If you're enacting a fantasy, consent, but robots are programmed. That's the thing I don't get, is that how in the world could you program a robot to say no, and who's going to pay a robot that may or may not consent? And but if it's a video game, it's still the same thing. The robot doesn't have you know I don't quite get that, but
I mean,
that that
I,
that's the main thing that's been known through that aspect of Unicult, is they've actually got some media attention for their wanting to open a sex brothel, because the idea, which kind of doesn't pan out statistically, it's like when porn was legal, they tried to outlaw pornography in America in particular, but when they had a flood of pornography because they fully legalized it, then it was, things went down for a little while, and then rape and stuff spiked. Rape and child molestation and all that sort of stuff went way up. China has seen a switch over for the youth, just like America. Non-coital forms of intercourse are now the most popular thing rather than the other way around. China was very upset. How can we be the China? I don't remember what they said, but this was like several years ago or something. They were saying, how can we be so bad that we're beating America and producing more Asian porn? Which, well, they're in Asia, so you think it would make sense, but no, the Chinese sort of have a little more family-oriented culture than to have that proliferate to that degree. But it definitely does change behavior. So in theory, you can bring back, you can put something in place intentionally. I'm asking your opinion too. I can ramble about stuff I've watched. I don't know how many versions.
If we're talking about the whole sexualization problem, as far as when people say that there's too much of it and so on, then in my opinion, it's what that essentially, if we use it for spiritual practices, for spiritual exercises, it's going to lead to complete satisfaction. Essentially, the rape and other kind of destructive aspects of it would then definitely decrease. So,
that's the funny thing about Western society. They point at all those so-called backwards third world nations that actually sociologists think they have more sex than us. So, more sex than America and the Western nations, and that's part of the thing. And also the thing that we just devaluing it. When people either are going off to do some sex magic, or whether that's what they call it in their religion. For example, in the Islamic tradition, there are prayers before you get to. There are particular things that are traditionally said before having sex with one's spouse. Certain guidance that's put forth. So it's not like, but the despiritualization and this selfish culture of, even when people get together, it's like, it's one thing if you're not in the, if a woman's during her time, she's healing after childbirth, or she's not well. That's not quite the same thing as saying I'm not in the mood. And a man too. Both a man and a woman's, they got to compromise. A man's got to put up with being tired for a few days a month because the woman wants it more than he does, and the rest of the month. And if they relax and don't fight each other about this whole hopefully they're not fighting, but you know what I mean. If it's not a confrontational war of the sexes sort of thing, it's going to be generally good for the both of them. The times in between. But so yeah. I understand she doesn't use a lot of people. Chauvinism is typically how people may refer to male sexism, and feminism is female sexism. So I don't think it's about. But I do understand people have been led to believe, then perhaps this is what she means, other than her being being the leader of her group, that matriarchy and all that other stuff is, equal rights. It's like Pakistan. Pakistan, the only reason why they haven't been ruled by a woman for a good decade, good 12 years or so, is because America doesn't let them have their thing. So even Asian nations are willing to elect a woman if you get a good enough woman a woman fitting enough into office. But again, it's like men and women have different strengths and weaknesses. If we support each other, then it kind of evens out. But if we say, oh, men earn more money, for doing more work, but in the West, we earn less for doing the same amount of work on average. There's even if you exclude the aspect of you know, the fact that women get more in terms of healthcare and stuff versus men do. Even if you exclude that, men on average work more hours, they do more physical work. That's it. But women have their strengths too. But those aren't as valued as much in a purely economic and a purely dollar for dollar sort of. Let's not look at the welfare. Let's look at just how much currency is going through.
So about
Uniscience. So okay, let me see. What's the second one? So Uniscience would be okay. So you got the colors. So you got pink, I guess. So orange, pink, yellow, green. The horn. Oh, let's talk about the horn first. So the paths to the steps of joy, they have it broken down to their levels of their organization. You know, $11, $22, $33, $44. It's not just that. I guess they ask you to be ready for the next level and that sort of thing. And so there's levels to Unicult, but not until you make your way towards the top do you find out actually, it's not only the first few levels or something are offered for sale on their site, but you have to do it in order. It's not like you can skip things. It's like Ekankar and Vardankar both had these lifetime memberships, and
yes.
so they charge so much to be a lifetime member. And I don't know if I think Vardankar expired it too, but Ekankar expired that idea a long time ago. But
yes, Barton card membership also costs money, yeah, for sure.
But it looks like Unicult has a stronger level of verification in terms of passing on one level versus the other than the leader personally sees, because you notice on the Ekankar papers, if you've seen them, it's the same exact printing on every single thing. It's and they do it in they have the printer do it in a different color ink, but there's no sign that it's actual signature, but they want you to feel like it's literally the leader has personally signed the thing. Now, the leader, I love that this is like one of the best autographs I have in my collection, and it definitely stands out as unique. Timothy Donahue used obscenity and swore as part of his autograph, and that's never happened in any of my books before. Except in great school books. But to my beloved consumer, I mean, that's a phrase she uses in her videos, but I wanted that as the signature. So the steps on the path to joy. How would you understand that?
Well, I mean, for me, that's a very serious thing. I have as a rule, and one of the goals of mine is to achieve total bliss or something like that. And I mean, in the end, first of all, it has to start internally. Now, we felt some emotional joy, so we know that's not enough. So what do we got to do? We would have to do some exercises that would make us ecstatic, and that would allow us to turn on this ecstasy whenever we want. And I mean, what I would do at this point, the easiest thing to do is to do some of those chants. So yeah, it could be the Who chant, it could be the Sugmad, it could be Satnam, and so on. So these would be the easiest to really get that ecstasy going. But then, of course, once you get it going, and once it's there, then you start thinking, okay, well, how do I keep it? So one point is to of course realize the divinity at that point. So that would be actually leaving the body and actual God realization. And then I think there's probably some kind of other siddhis that can be gained to be blissed out always. And there's talk about the pineal gland, as you know.
Sort of the direction that a person may not want to go, I mean, you can get back to what we were saying, but it's like, you know, it starts from within in a way, because I mean, even if you have to do stuff without, I mean, I definitely agree with the Buddhists that that our existence isn't a separate existence. Whether you're saying the diabolos, the Iblis consciousness, that even Iblis and stuff isn't separate. So therefore, but like, for example, when people turn to something on the outside, either they blast music and stress themselves out, but they enjoy themselves for a few minutes or an hour or something, and it takes their day down, or the more easy to understand thing, the drug thing. I've been prescribed all sorts of medication. I was never a recreational drug user. I mean, about the worst was I guess regularly drinking coffee for a little while, but that's, people aren't going to count that one. But the thing is, it's like, they give you that oxymorphone in the hospital, and that stuff is just. But then they give you a little bit more than you need, but the thing is, no matter how blissful that is, I mean, if you're going to try that on your own, you can actually die. So that's, I don't want to, because you reach such a state. It's like, maybe you can once, and that's the thing with street drugs. It's like, that stuff comes with so many chemicals and stuff like that. You may destroy yourself to the point, damage yourself to the point where that's your only chance. That one time with the ecstasy or the heroin or whatever, that was the only time you're ever going to get there. But again, I've never done that, and never telling anybody to, because you don't know how much of that stuff is, what's in it. I mean, rat poison, brake fluid, all sorts of stuff you don't want to expose yourself to. But it's like, no matter how good that is, there's like this drag. It's not the natural thing when you work yourself in the state with ritual, meditation, whatever you want to call it. But once you learn how to follow these pathways, now I know the one person I interviewed says, don't look on WebMD to figure out what's what. It's like, well, trying to figure out my mystical experience, and WebMD telling me which drugs I've been overdosing on. It's like, but I'm not using drugs. It's right there, and it's perfectly safe. But it's like ephedrine. You don't have to get high on meth. Your body, you got this warm uprising. You see those Chinese drawings, little dots and stuff. But then there's another level, other than, okay, that's one level. You got this ability to essentially cause change within yourself. One of the definitions of magic, by the way, are your consciousness and stuff goes along with it. But again, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's not confined to Buddhism or some other stuff, although you do see some paths that don't have some parts. Mark W. Muesi kind of pointed out that there's some stuff the Native Americans or the Buddhists or what. He just said this in passing, I think. Something about Islam seemed to have stuff from different that only existed in some other paths, and they kind of had the other. But one of the things he was saying is, but took it back to that idea of having, well, East and West and all that. You got to kind of have those things separate. But there's that stage where you go beyond the pursuit of happiness, the beyond the pursuit of the experience, like the last guest, and you're kind of in between. You're in between. You're doing things for what they are. You're lost in the moment. It's not that you don't care about consequences. It's just you're doing it regardless of how well or bad it turns out. Now, you don't want to be completely debaucherous and ruin your life. True hedonism is considering the consequences. Did someone come in, or did the door just move?
Yeah, just a moment. Yeah, okay, let me get this back. Oops. Get this back on. So, about what you were talking about.
They got the eye with the spot. They got the eye. If you have any further thoughts on that, I guess we'll move on to the next point.
Yes, I want to just touch on, going beyond the pursuit of happiness and all that. Well, basically, we're always gonna we're always gonna pursue a happiness of greater and greater levels. But the happiness, for at least for me, what I've noticed is that if you want to have something serious, like one one person I know told me yesterday, I'm a very free person. I do whatever I want and so on. And I started laughing. I said, look, this is not real freedom, because okay, the first is the spiritual freedom, the second you have, and then hey, what can you do in the physical? So basically, for me, happiness, I mean, first of all, would be freedom from death, because everybody's bound to death. And then you have, of course, you have the godhood, you have the pure positive god world. So whatever is the highest, truth, the highest pure, that would kind of.
You saw my translation version of the chart with some other, with a couple additions at the top. The
Yes.
Akshar realization stuff is definitely part of the Ekankar cosmology, but I have gotten some dream information that connects to certain things, and some people say, "Oh no, you don't tell your secret." It's like, I never said I wouldn't. If I promised that I wouldn't tell my secret word or what I was told in dreams, that might be a different story. But I haven't, so that's people can just deal with it. But how do you tell the difference between the psychedelic, the Atman, and the real self, the Jiva?
No, so
I mean,
actually, um, so the real self would be, as much as I understand the terminology, the real self would be the Atman, and we are the Jiva. So that's the samsaric, the samsaric consciousness. So, but basically, how do we tell the difference? I mean,
well,
absolutely, it has to be.
the Atma. It's good to keep a good arm's length from the thing. You figure on you're too close if the camera's too. But the Atman's kind of like your typical soul diagram, which is really your typical psychological diagram, but it's gone blank. So it's still this slate. The Atman's the blank slate, but it really implies, there's the Jiva is the living entity that's not the mind and not the body, as has been described in some slokas. You could say as very
Oh,
explicit
okay.
mind in that way. But linguistically, there's also, yeah, it doesn't have quite the implication. But anyways, terms aside, how does because it's certainly not something like, oh well, we're in the blue land now, or the orange land or something, and
Well, I mean,
it's got to be
you
something
know,
beyond that,
you
because
know, how do we tell the difference? Well, for me, I'm still in the,
well,
I'm still in the
I'm not in the astral plane now that I've turned on a red light bulb.
yeah. So for me, I'm still in the psychic worlds. I'm on the mental plane as far as my own progress in that path. But when I get through there, obviously, well, what you get is, you get pure bliss, you get non-duality, right? They say it's all one. So and then you get liberation and all these things. So I guess that would be the way to really separate it. Because, for example, I had one experience where I thought that I really rose above the mental plane, or maybe I was in the 12th plane or whatever. But I realized I was still in the dual worlds. And so therefore, you realize that you have to press on, and whatever, and the and whatever kind of god or what being pops up and starts telling you that, hey, you did it, you still have to think and say, okay, there's a level beyond, and you have to push to that. So I mean, there's always the will to transcend, definitely. And that would be the way. And then, of course, with the competence.
I as I'm saying, I'm not really seeing any differentiation there. So I'm kind of, so the eyeball, since that's the second main feature, they got an eyeball and a spiral in the middle of that thing, but it represents their media usage and how media must benefit the user. So I guess perhaps what we should talk about for a few minutes or something is how what's the difference between media use and media using you?
The difference between media use and media using you is how conscious are we of the media and how conscious are we of how it affects us. So basically, of course, if I'm sitting here chanting a mantra, which, oh, actually, I should do this mantra. Let's see. Which was the mantra? So that's one of those mantras I can use to
Okay, what does that mean?
well, the meaning of it, I forgot the full meaning, but it's to attract people, it's to attract viewers, listeners, and readers, and so on. So that's very good for a video like this. So that's media usage
So,
right
so
there,
you, you mean it's one of those things that you're not told. There are meanings for every bija mantra and such like that, for example. But people like one of the ones that's getting a bad rap, because I do understand if you don't know what shreen means and you don't know what berz means, whatever you think that represents, that's not translating it. So there's another level that they're completely missing out. Now people can have the intention, they don't understand what stuff means, and they're like, okay, this represents this, or this is supposed to be some sort of revelation, and that's what I'm connecting to. But I was just curious what things meant.
yeah. So that would be media
But yeah,
usage because some.
I think one of the things that you can point out as far as media being a bad thing is one, the vibrational levels of causing ADHD and other things, because people don't they listen to stuff too loud. They have hearing damage from that. They have heart problems and some other stuff that can result from too loud. Um, the the sort of not quite smooth vibrations of musical instruments versus the voice, and too much exposure to that, and without balancing it out with something somehow it's not listening to music you like, then there's certain psychological and physical issues that can result from some of that. But what it does to your character, look at the set. People just listen to the music they like, and they don't worry about the lyrics, and it programs them into being a whole different person. Whether you're listening to gospel music and you no longer take responsibility for your spiritual life because you feel like, oh, I'm just a bad person and it's been paid for already. I don't have to worry about succeeding and doing my own hero
Oh
deeds
yeah.
or whatever. And gangster rap, and next thing you know, it's like, how do you end up in a gang? I don't know. It's like, well, 5 years ago, I remember the music you were listening to. That's a key factor. And reality television, for the most part, acting like human beings have their. I know I used the phrase in my last conversation with somebody that I put up here, but everybody has value. But it's like you feel like these are worthless human beings, these fanatic and real world, and the shows that they realize if we put it on the TV, people will watch. It used to be only game shows, and at least people would tend to learn something in most of those game shows, or it would be just those date shows and stuff like that. But then it just exploded into this barrage of nonsense because they know most people will watch whatever's on TV. Not me. I will keep my TV off for months or
Yeah, I actually don't watch TV, and I watch whatever I want to find on my computer as well. So that does definitely help to focus
yeah.
oneself onto.
I'll buy some great courses, or if Chance Gardner or somebody else has some DVD come out that I think is that. Now, I don't consider myself a fan of anybody, but pretty much everything that I've seen him release is definitely worth buying, even if I can't afford other shows to watch with it. Same thing with great courses. Get one or two of those a year or something. And watch them until I don't learn, and watch that stuff till I don't learn anymore, or it doesn't seem like I'm learning anymore, and we're kind of put it out of circulation for a while. But yeah, they just filling our heads with nonsense most things. So Unidata, basically the same thing as Uniscience was the okay. I'm Uniscience was the second one. Did we discuss the scientific focus? Oh, Okay, that's an interesting one. So it's basically physical science and spiritual science kind of combining themselves.
Mm. Well, yes. I mean, honestly, no matter how you look at it, these are just essentially just, you could say, dimensions of science, because you have the physical aspect, you have the spiritual aspect, but these are all one anyway. So yeah, they will bind themselves. To me, I don't like when they say, "Oh, transhumanism. Oh, let's robotize ourselves or become cyborgs or whatever," because as far as I've seen, comparing the
Oh
scientific
yeah,
advance.
you don't want some random chip putting whatever in your head that they want.
Yes, yes.
And it's I'm not sure there's going to be the connection. Even if we know this information, it's like, okay, I believe there is a connection with some people. It's like there was this guy, there was used to be a handful of people in the world. I think most of them have died now. I think there's like two left that literally, I mean, this is from the Islamic tradition that they've memorized. uh, The Quran uses different dialects, so some Asin versus Assad, that sort of thing. So it's not like the Bible where you actually have different words that mean different things, that mean completely different things, and you have additional contradictions between the versions. But what I'm saying is, like, you had people who memorized whole every dialect of the Quran and whole shelves, literally eidetic memory people that you would ask them to say 50 different books that had this narration. They would list off those 50 different books and say, oh, well, in this book, the narration says this something different. But in terms of the wisdom of expressing it, I don't think any of those people, they were, but they had a spiritual connection to what they were doing. At least that's what it seemed like. So it wasn't quite the same as you type it into your computer. You could see on people's faces, they would have an emotion, different emotional response to this subject versus that subject. They may not be able to explain further. It's like I've met people memorize books of scripture and they can't explain, if it's not explicitly stated, how to practice this in just something phrased a little bit different. Um, and but I've met people that they've learned a few short passages of scripture or some chant or something, and they practice whole faiths better than most people that are in that position because they're, you know, they get it. They get it. I mentioned Islam, so the first chapter and the last three. Anybody who can really, really practice those that is better at the faith than most people who memorize the whole than the
Oh
millions that have
yeah,
memorized.
even in Ekankar, the same thing is that if you're, they say, even if you're uneducated, even if you're illiterate, you can still get God realization or whatever. So it's definitely, it's not the memorization is not the main thing. The only thing I memorize are definitely specific chants that have specific effects, and that's kind of what you have to use. But other than that, you have those few basic facts that you need in your practice. But then it's all about, okay,
Well,
how can I
and there's the definition of I'm not trying to interrupt, and maybe this is not maybe anyways, people know we're going to ramble and stuff, so that's fine. Be more concise with the, with Unicole Unicron if she ever appears, because I don't think she's going to give me hours. But the she might. I don't know. I'm not saying good or bad in that sense, but you're familiar. One of the definitions of chaos magic. One of them is just that people act like they believe something different and try to really believe something different and switch about various things. That's one definition. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about chaos magic in terms of you set up a structure. You got your chance, you got your visualization, whatever you're doing. But then you let it fall, and you let whatever flow of colors and whatnot just come into it like it's going to come into it, and it's kind of like hiking. It's kind of like exerting yourself physically and then stopping to meditate. Um, that sort of combination. It's kind of has that sort of effect. But in terms of science, they used to, my father's generation, people were put in insane asylums for seeing auras, but sciences came and
Oh,
say light, heat, magnetism, and moisture create fields around at least the living beings, if not other things too. There's different. There's some of that going on with other things. So the fact that you can go or create whatever vibration in order to get yourself in the state, particularly looking at contrast between flashing colors, orange, blue, red, green, purple, yellow, black, white, that sort of thing. That you can actually start, using the different layers of the color and the heat outside of the flame. You can actually get yourself to see auras. Most people, it might take you.
Yes, most definitely we can.
That, but who knows what else has been claimed in terms of mystical practice in achieving that science is going to step forward and say, hey, that is it. It's like dark matter, dark energy. You know what that is? For thousands of years, people have been writing about this crushing from every direction. That's dark matter. That's what is described as dark matter. The pulling out in every direction. Dark energy. That's,
Yes, science is essentially going to accept most of this stuff. The problem is that the human science is imperfect, and but the spirit science, I mean the science that is taught by the spirit
science, perhaps philosophy of science. Philosophy of science is probably the better way to put it. But even bacterially, I remember in school sitting in front of the microscope. This is what I saw. This is what I saw. And I described it, and it turned out 10 years later, they had it in the textbooks then. But I saw something rare under a microscope, and the teacher was like, "Yeah, you must not have conveyed correctly." And it's like, no. And I think I had proof somewhere when the whole thing came up, but it wasn't like I was going to drive across the state and go to my high school teacher or middle school teacher or whoever it was, and say, well, I know who it was, but you know what I'm saying, and say, see, it's like, we're just crazy guys. Just like, I kind of recognize you, but you drove across the state just to prove me wrong for something I said. Because I was in college and something was proven wrong with it. But okay, Unikids. So the involvement with a new generation, obviously, and it's somehow supposed to be innovative. So what sort of change might be made other than the fact that we have to use technology? I mean, that's an obvious thing, is that rather than sitting everybody in front of the TV and you wonder why your kid's trying to gets hurt imitating the Roadrunner or what? I mean, I don't think there's any new episodes of the Roadrunner, but you know what I mean.
So. Well, yeah, and the first of all, yeah, the technology actually is going to. I mean, they're saying that it's going to get spiritualized or whatever. Technology is actually going to get redundant because honestly, like no matter what kind of technological innovation I hear about, I have a thought in my mind almost immediately about someone who did it like hundreds of years ago via spiritual practice. But what to do about the kids? Well, for me, I'm doing my part. If I meet some kids and I say, okay, well, do you want me to teach you some vampirism? Do you want me to teach you some astral projection and so on and so forth? So I'm doing this on a micro scale, but yes, teach them the practices, teach them the works. And what I am seeing most definitely is that these people, in particular, children in these generations, they are gifted. They are very gifted. Most of them are much better than I was when I was at their age, and they're not doing anything in particular. They're not really training or practicing or whatever. So it's awesome to see the human evolution is definitely going on. It's very and
to define one of the things now. Certain Unicult members would not like the fact that I use this term because probably they don't understand it, but Luciferianism is a list that I have on my channel, and that's definitely, it's kind of the word I use for philosophy because I'm in a particular thing, and the empowerment, the bringing out everybody, figuring out, this is my, my own scholarship, my own scholarly presentation. I'm not just reading something because I can read a language. I'm throwing in comments. That's one of the things that marks a lot of the material, is that I'm doing my own comments. I am connecting it to my own ability to bring out some of these things. I'm not saying this is a whole series of Egyptian gods, but it relates to my psychology. It relates to the world that I know, even though I'm not an ancient person and I don't really speak that language. Although people can see that I do, I can correct Budge in some degree, to some degree, and bring out some extra information from other sources. It's interesting, Budge, although he doesn't agree with some of the theories, and some of the theories are just crazy. There's been crazy theories about Egypt for a long time, but he at least brings out some of the stuff, some of the weird stuff, like, oh, the Great Pyramid encodes the Christian dispensationalist doctrine, and Budge will say, hey, people say this, but no, no. I mean, it's short, but yeah, empowering, doing your own hero deeds, as Joseph Campbell told us all on the television. Although I don't consider him, per se, a spiritual authority, it's a great idea. The Lucifer characters were people who brought out their own light. They did their
Oh
own.
yeah, oh yeah, bringing out your own light, getting your own, getting.
Weren't there. The Gnostic Authine Logos, as we might say, but unit acres. So sustainable living, and that's that sort of thing. The usage of resources.
So I mean, so they want to use. You're talking about usage of resources of this particular Unicult community, or what kind of?
Like, I'm sure, I'm not sure how they would, how she would exactly define it if I was talking through this with her, but the whole thing was that, what's the term, sustainable living. So basically, they're not saying they want to live off the grid, but setting up a piece of land where they could actually live off the grid, that things would cycle into each other. Maybe like the old, like the Islamic system of animal raising, that you don't have animals graze bare. What you do is the animals, they roam about perhaps, but you don't have so many animals on a property that they graze the land bare. So you want a piece of property that will grow what feeds the animals and feeds the people. The animals produce manure and eggs and milk and stuff, and so you have sort of you can live off the grid and potentially create a society that functions forever. And also, as we'll see when we get to the lightning round, per se, the the usage of plants, whether for shamanistic or other purposes, you definitely want to use the land to its fullest without doing the whole strip mining thing that we see, particularly in my country. You'll drive through the forest, and you'll go up on a hill, and then you'll see dead, just huge circles of dead, because they dug up the mountain, ran it through filters, maybe heated it up to kind of lead the metals towards one end of the thing, so they could get more of the metals, and then it's like, oh, we don't care if nothing ever grows there again, and until it's covered with fresh dirt. That's so that that's not what they're trying to do. But do you have any ideas in terms of a new society that doesn't destroy the environment and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, one of my friends said, or maybe he's supposed to be an ex-friend now, but yeah, so he said, oh, the most important thing I have to do right now is protect this planet Earth. I laughed at him and I said, look, okay, man, so what can you protect at your current state of capability? I mean, that's fine if we can get some trash in the bin or whatever. But in my case, first of all, if we can deal with our own diseases, with our own physical infirmities, vulnerabilities, and all that kind of thing, and then we can raise our power to such an extent. I mean, in Ekankar, they speak about the silent ones,
What?
In Ekankar, they speak about the silent ones. So the silent ones are basically controlling planes themselves. So if we get to that degree of power, imagine what
Now,
we can do to
you know,
the earth,
it-
to nature, and
it's
so
all
forth.
it's interesting that that's the one you bring up
Yeah.
because for Wednesday or Tuesday night, the thing that the the one that I bring up, the one that I get for Wednesday is the nine silent ones. So there's a role, the becoming of the detached master and stuff like this. This is sort of
Oh,
the day lesson for that one. And since we're at this point, we can also bring up the Magus, the Magus tarot cards, the Mercury, isn't it? So I mean, I don't have any. I don't have any at the thing if you want to show it, but the so that's one of the things too. Is that's
and really, yeah. So what to do with the what to do with the environment, the society, and so forth. So, like I said before, the more we expand,
it's like veganism. Veganism. Not only is these vegetarian foods with all these transformed and concentrated proteins not good for people, and dietitians say no, don't eat the vegan food, just eat whole regular food or something like that. You can eat stuff without meat, but this special, this stuff is can destroy your ability to eat grains and all this other stuff that you need to survive. So don't do it. I mean, it can give you cancer and all that, um, but it's not that good on the environment either. So but if we just, if we eat in balance, we can, there's no reason necessarily for people to be vegetarian, but if you don't have animals cramped up in little cages just so you can have meat every day, yeah, don't.
yeah, the whole eating problem. How I used to also be kind of distressed about the thing as far as what to eat and how to live and what to do. But then I
Well,
figured out.
that's what I'm saying. None of it you have to be distressed about. The whole what's giving us stress is the fact that we're not along those lines. We're not living environmentally. We're not living to feed ourselves healthily, and either we're just mindlessly consuming, which is not quite the point, but or we're you know stressing because of whatever. We just do what we do with what we got. That's it. That's all you can do. You can't go around. It's like Greta Thunberg. I'm going to get some flack perhaps for bringing this up, but my opinions are my opinions. Thank you very much. Yes, you should be in school. Don't complain about that. She's paid off by a billionaire. She doesn't seem to, when she's speaking in public, she often can't explain herself beyond seemingly a memorized script. But yeah, sitting around protesting, go to school. Go to school. Don't travel around the world in your yacht and stuff and say, see, I'm showing the world what they can't do. Yeah, you're just another rich jerk. That's it.
Well,
But
so
pollution, it's not about hypocritical agreements. You look at how I don't know what you've heard from the Prabhupada speeches for the actual Prabhupada speeches, not my commentaries, but are any other spiritual leader in the past hundreds of years that's gone around the world. I mean, not hundreds of years, past dozens of years that's gone around the world. They say, we don't like all you Westerners making these hypocritical speeches about us in the third world when you're the number one polluters. You're the number one people doing the bombing and everything else. And you're saying, look at that. It's like, fix yourself too. The
well,
reason why dictators torture people is because they're basically allowed to, that allowed to by you. If the Sudanese, if the Christian side of the Sudanese government criticizes America for being too much torturer, there's a problem. But yeah, people got to deal with themselves. It's like, we're going to deal with religious fanaticism. So you're going to run through Virginia and Texas? No, we're not. But we have no interest in dealing with religious extremism in Virginia, Texas, and the South, and maybe the North, and it's only other countries. Okay, yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, the whole food problem. I was kind of distressed until I figured out that that it's possible to become a breatharian. It's possible to stop eating, drinking, and so forth. So these are, I mean, all the issues of the all the issues I jokingly say that
Well,
that
a lot of these things, it's like, okay, we're in these physical bodies. That's another thing that we're going to suffer because of things that we've heard may be possible, and just we're in the physical body. It's like male, female, whatever, rich, poor, whatever. We got the thing that we have, and it's current potential that we know about. Then that's something maybe we should do about. It's like
oh yeah.
like food and environment, not sitting around. Well, I read in some old book that it's like the King's List. I don't have. I can't quickly turn to it, so I'm not going to. The King's List in ancient Egypt, the pre-dynastic rules, those 12 gods, or at least under a certain name of God, you could say, in another way of saying, perhaps it represents an age. Not that one ruler lived for such and such 1,200 years, or 700, or whatever the other ages are that bring it back to 36, another 20 something thousand years, or whatever it is, 36,000 something years ago. I think the list brings it to, but perhaps you look at the names, and that means something. That tells you something. All these myths, it's like the devil card in terms of what the Quran has to say. And the devil card is the tarot card of the month in terms of the trumps. So that's, I guess, an important thing to bring up.
Ooh.
If you have any ideas with that, because February is cardinal fire in this day and age, because we're in the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is the water sign, and arm's length from the thing, and you kind of have the face in the screen. I know for some reason you want to, but when you talk on the phone, I understand, because but I'm maybe I remind you too much, but it's
no, it's okay. I want to look good.
But the thing is, it's like the devil in that circumstance doesn't have this independent power or good or anything. It has evil and ignorance is a twist on things. It's like I brought up drugs. Your brain and your body has all that. You can feel like you're overdosing on drugs and always be safe. And I'm telling and hey, maybe you have to meditate for an hour a day to do it, but trust me, it is so worth it. It's better than prostituting all day long just to feel it once a year.
Yes.
Or stealing or
the whole devil aspect.
You don't want to end. What?
As far as you're saying, this month being of the devil card. Well, I mean, for me, as working with Lucifer at this time, so yeah, that would be that is significant, and also the fact of of all that the devil.
Matter. And another trick, because they say the matter thing, is that you're seeing beyond matter as being for itself. You're seeing yourself as willingly or unwillingly in service to something. So you want to be in service to the higher power or the lower power or material itself. If you're a slave to your senses, just seeking after whatever joy you feel like seeking after, rather than living on a principle, and you're kind of not fully in the screen again. But okay, let's. So there's unibusiness. Okay, something organized. The organization of the group. So I guess organized religion would be the organized religion that maintains itself financially, would be perhaps what to talk about, other than the data and Uniccultism, which is basically the same thing. Uniccultism would, I guess, be conservative. Would be conservative Unicultists, is where you basically look at what Unicole Unicron has said, and that's basically rather than meeting together on the issues, I guess you'd first go through what she has to say. Like most spiritual groups, is people tend towards conservatism, is other people's interpretations first.
So you're asking me about my opinion on them taking money, right?
Okay, well, you can have that's something we can talk about, but either taking money or taking donations to, I guess, for her to pay her rent, or for her not to work at a corporation and run the group instead, or just just setting up an organization that funds itself rather than operating on donations that somehow the organization is able to fund its functions in itself, both its internet and its outings and various other things that purely on its own, which
You know,
financial, financial independence is definitely something I agree with for any group. There may be some principles that I don't agree with that could be operated in one group versus the other, but organized religion that steps outside the pay your tithing just to be a member sort of thing, you know, one can definitely
yes, that's,
that's
you know,
actually
as far as this goes, well, the first thing is, yeah, so we can put that out there for everyone, for the watchers, for the listeners, and for anyone else, is the fact that basically you don't need to pay for any spiritual path whatsoever, for any kind of spiritual thing at all. It's all absolutely free. But well, sometimes, I mean, you pay for a book, you get the book, and then you
yeah,
use the
yeah,
material in the book.
your
But
hand.
the point would be, yeah, that, I mean, for me, you're talking about this whole Unicult thing. I mean, I like it a lot because I want to start my own cult as well, and I would like, and of course, you know, a religion, a cult, and so on. So to have all these things, to have money, to deal with farming, to deal with education, and so forth. And that's all very good, but and to keep the income going, but it's not really needed. I mean nobody has to pay for anybody, as long as you can put in the work, get into the get into the spiritual contact, and that's just fine, you know. So everything is for
Well,
free. Got
and definitely the idea of groups. I can card it to a much lesser degree, as there was always this public stuff, regardless of membership and initiate books and all that other stuff. There was always the public gatherings, even if there's only two in your state on a yearly basis. There's always some. There was always some level of or I mean, it varies per country and all that other stuff. But I'm in a state where last I checked, there's like one or two a year, and there's no way I'm spending $50 to go attend a Nectar meeting discussion.
no, you know, I never attended anything. I mean, the only book I bought
But
is
but
I bought one.
the thing I'm saying that you know they you know if she doesn't block you on Twitter or something, you can follow her there. Or you can comment on her. You can comment on the YouTube. I think all the YouTube comments are open. That's something I know I interviewed somebody who has his comment section completely closed right now, but that's something that makes the difference sometimes. I'm subscribed to his channel too, but the thing that it makes the difference for me. Sometimes I'll see the comment sections closed. That's like half I do like regarding but I like to not just post my comment somewhere else. I like to post my comment right under the video. That makes the difference between me subscribing to a channel and not. And Now I know some of the comments, like for example, you do see her breast, you do see her butt. I mean, it's not full on. Well, it's pornographic, but it isn't pornographic sort of thing. So you don't see her spreading anything. But the comments on those videos, and she did make an apology on one of her videos with that, is that she was saying, anybody who's seen me naked who didn't want to see me naked, I'm sorry for that. And I mean, that was the whole point. She did say that in one of her cam churches, but the comments obviously on those videos go a little beyond her at least her basic message of whatever spiritual lesson she thought people were supposed to get. That was not, people were pausing the video, I'm sure, so that's not, but
I think
that's
yeah,
what people need, if that's what people need to not be in the Christian mindset of their bodies being inherently dirty or sexuality being
yeah,
inherently dirty. That's the thing.
the body is
It's
actually
not,
a temple
it's
of
not quite
God.
that.
Yeah, it's a very
Oh, the
important word.
Bible is like I could pick up the Bible over there and it talking about how's that verse go in Ezekiel? They had penises like donkeys and ejaculated like horses, or was it that they had or is it that they had penises like horses and ejaculated like I forget which one it is. But what type of sick mind comes up with that stuff? And the Genesis 34, where they rape, uh, where they circumcise a whole village rather than maybe executing the rapist. I don't know. Oh, they killed the whole village. They trick him
Oh
into being
yeah,
circumcised,
after
and then they
circumcision,
kill the
yes.
whole village. And there's some messed ups. And what's that thing about killing a bird and scattering the remains around the room and smearing a red yam? And that's some voodoo stuff right there. I've been in graveyards and saw some voodoo stuff, but not to that, not that graphic extent. Thank you very much. But oh no, the Christians, they're afraid of the non-biblical voodoo. That's the well, no, I know it's just a phrase. Voodoo in terms of Vodun is Northwest African originated
Yeah.
religion and that sort of thing. But again, like I said with the devil cards, these things represent stuff. These things kind of mean stuff, and we're on to before I get into into getting some ideas from the introduction, and then maybe going quicker through things. We've got the card of the season as far as the Trumps are concerned, because we got the day card and the month card and the season card. So the season card is what I guess we should talk about. We got the living, in Ekankar it was the living Ekmaster, the Mahanta. That's basically the title of the full card. You got, and I have Harold Klemp was always talking by a fake plant, and that's what I have I kind of have a plant next to the chair in the suit, and so that's what I was getting at there. But it's really the full card. So he's in the system, he's outside the system, and any other ideas you'd have of the spring quarter card,
Well, the fool, I mean, honestly, the fool, would be the one who's open usually to anything. I mean, people. I mean, devotees. I mean, the fool to me is very close to devotion, because essentially, if people think they're so smart and they know everything, they're not open to devoting themselves to something greater than themselves, but always, in the face of the gods, in the face of the spirits, and all those things that are higher than people, we are all still fools. So basically, so recognition that you are the fool and connecting to something higher, that would be kind of the whole, you could call it the spiritual
remember.
approach.
If I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if anybody watching this has saw it, but I did once a year. I try to write poems and get my way through a deck to explain some of the meaning in the deck and perhaps some stuff that's not in the deck, but basically trying to express through the deck. Not that I think I've shuffled the deck of cards. I will tell the future and this thing from my childhood. Let's flip through and have a random page, and we have this thing right here. What in the world that thing is? This is some sort of bird or tree sort of related thing, maybe.
A little bit lower down, if you can just. There we go. Okay, I can see it pretty well. Yeah. So you drew this yourself, or is this a swastika?
It's a little flip book that I added a couple things after my enlightenment, my realization, my self-realization, as you can say, where I not only believed that I had a soul, but that I was a soul. I mean, I can flip through it easier at a different point, but there's a couple things, but mostly it's something from literally my childhood. And I did enough. I recall. Oh wait, no. I think this is the new version. This is the version that I made 20 years ago. And I'm not sure what year. It could have been less than 20 years ago. But there was something from my childhood box, and I inserted a couple green symbols and stuff from there. Or messages. There's a message. But yeah, I had a dream that had part of a message, and it's a few years on. Maybe it's not quite. Maybe 15 years ago. I'm not sure exactly. It doesn't matter as much. But the Shining Tribe Tarot series, you can think of this as sort of the way did I already say this? It's like it's like the grimoires. You have clothes, you have certain steps that you go through. It's not like you're waiting 6 months to do the magic or whatever. You're starting it right then. Whether or not
Yes.
you're actually dedicating this to whatever spirit the Grimnar tells you to worship, that's not my point. But the if you see this character wearing particular clothes and they're ready to fly, but once they give themselves over to the form of the thing, or the obedience or the submission, the spiritual relationship, then they're off in their psychiatric spiritual flight or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah. The
And
submission and the servitude to the higher power comes first, definitely.
well, we'll get to that in the lightning round. What they're because I understand why people don't want to use. I understand like why when you pick up some of the Qurans, you'll see Allah or you'll see Jehovah or Theos or something, some sort of word for God, because people, oh, God means way too many things. It's like I was saying, Davis and Asuras, that doesn't really mean God. So people say, oh wait, there's that very specifically. Buddha doesn't worship the gods. It says he doesn't worship. Don't bring up that passage that says he doesn't worship the light beings or the demons or the spirits, and say it doesn't list God in that passage. It doesn't list a transcendent sort of God idea or anything close to that in that passage. I mean, the spirits are so when you encounter a jinn or malak or whatever, the jinn are definitely gendered entities. When you encounter one of these gods and goddesses of old, they are so they're so utterly overwhelming that they're so utterly other and alien, you could say, but not alien in a physical extraterrestrial sort of way of thinking.
Ooh.
But it's like, yeah, I totally understand. Plato got it. These things aren't gods, but compared to us humans, you have something
Godlike,
that,
yes. Yes.
yeah,
They're God, they're
it's yeah, they
godlike,
have longer lives. You
and
can't kill them. People act like you can burn spirits and all sorts of other stuff. Maybe that's how they get you to burn you. They trick you into a way of thinking, here's how to get rid of me, and no, here's how you punish yourselves. And you find that people have actually
well,
poisoned themselves, hurt others. But let's remember, I had that my painting right there, and I guess I'll turn. The pilgrimage of the jinn, you can call that painting. And did you see it? Did you see it well enough?
maybe just let me see it again. And okay, so yeah, somewhat. It's
So
it's
basically, there's some variations between the Gohtaya. It sounds kind of Chinese, but that's sort of the Greek spelling, Gohtaya. So the
oh
Gohtaya Sigilia, Goetti, but Gohtaya is the Greek. So I'm going to start saying the Greek way. But
yeah.
the dude right there was the one that spoke. So they all came out of my chest, and they all spoke, and basically they were saying, hey, I just showed up when people were doing stuff, is basically the message. I'm not saying the exact words or anything right now. That's not the point. But basically he was saying, hey, people just thought I was a god. And that's sort of the thing with some of them. So it's not necessarily that everything that people worship is exactly out there trying to. There are things that are out there doing things, but let's get into some ideas of. So I guess this was in 2009. In 2009, she. I guess she was a staunch materialist. Didn't really have any value of soul or afterlife or anything like this. It was all about am I pleasing to other people and pleasing to myself, and basically just a very materialistic view of life. But life became too much for her at some point. She tried to kill herself with some pills and overdosed and basically was. I don't mean this in an insulting way. I mean this in a literal scientific sort of way. But she basically was like retarded for a couple months, and then kind of her
Yeah.
brain got over it, and she got back into her after her suicide attempt. That sometimes it happens unexpectedly. Somebody so her father felt this, I should go look for her over here, and found her. So that's believable enough that happens. And so she was really upset last year, it looked like, because it's like, I told myself I'm going to try again if things aren't in a certain way. And it's like, I guess they're quite at that point. So what, October 13th or something is her a live day, or is that her birthday? Or I don't know. She's a like 31 or something, but it's again, she's gone beyond this point of, it's not really, she doesn't really want to identify as a woman. So she calls herself Caesar. Um and at that point, at the point that she got that there, one hadn't really here, once she started identifying as gender non-conforming. That's the thing, you don't have to conform to gender stereotypes to be, you know, women and men are to differing degrees good at different things. That doesn't mean, oh well, I like science, so I must not be a woman.
Yes.
Or I saw a Christian woman that I thought I was going to get an interview. She said on her video that I like cleaning. So a lot of women don't like cleaning. They just, they're good at it. They do it. It's whatever. But and then they go on with their day. But saying that I like cleaning, so I really know that I'm a woman. I don't know how she said it. That sounds like more of a man way to phrase it. But anyway, so it says here that so 2012, I guess, is when things per se started. There's some deleted content that's not available from before that. There's obviously interest in okay, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say, that I said Unicrons, yeah, Unicrons.
Ah.
Because Unicole, Unicron, okay, because one of them's messed up. So sorry for that. But so yeah, it says. So what's your opinion of some of the stuff that we said here? Because she said that she basically wanted to start an organization here that she considered the name Uniclub, and this is 2012, and so she wanted to form an organization to empower it and herself, and have friends to talk about the same sort of spiritual issues, and not be trapped by mere society or mere oneself. So sort of an Aleister Crowley sort of, not the society and not oneself, but without
So did she
actually
have like a spiritual experience when she tried to kill herself, and therefore she decided to bring the message to the world? Was that what happened?
It looks like that by then. It kind of she has definitely claimed some stuff, and one of the things that she did say on the videos, that one of the things that she got into was smoking a lot of marijuana and stuff, and she finally started and meditating and all sorts of stuff, and trying to, and then I guess she became more public and stuff. But
So,
yeah.
Essentially, as far as I see it, it's basically kind of a path that, hey, I have an idea. Let me bring it out. Let me therefore earn some money. Let me get some influence. And I haven't seen a lot of spirituality in here from what you told me. But yeah, I'm all for the idea, as long as the actual knowledge that she gives is potent. So I have to check that out, and definitely, I mean.
Well, I do think, for example, that she is authentically using the group to try to develop herself, and basically take a group of friends along with it. It's like, have you ever formed a group of people to get together and have discussions, and do some meditations, and maybe some journeys that sort of go out on a vision quest or something? I've certainly done that.
Yeah,
I never tried to collect donations other than, okay, we all need to chip in $10 for gas, and another 10 for food, and that sort of thing. But
so Yeah. For me, the cult
And
business is.
she thought she was different, and it wasn't until she actually got into more than just cheerleading and television. And if you see some of her videos, it's very clear what would a cheerleader that started a religion kind of do. And I don't mean that in that sound very insulting, but this kind of it totally makes sense with some of the stuff that used it. Um, but want to be a pop star and various other things, so it kind of blended together. But I do think there is some spiritual path, whether or not you consider her as a prophet with a with a with a with a PH or a F.
Yeah. So, you know, for me, like I say, I would have to, because introduced me to Unicult today, so I would have to check that out to give an even more sort of in depth review or whatever. But I mean, yeah,
And and
as long as.
I guess aside from being in a mental hospital after the suicide attempt, and um she was through she had been through some trauma. She looked into conspiracy theories. I kind of want to get a full on summary of this thing going here. It's there was you know abused by an ex and some other stuff, and just life. But looking into metaphysics and stuff, and seeing the corruption and even the most material ways of looking at society. Yeah. So she basically, took a pile of books and all that and tried to develop her own way.
Yeah, decided to
Combined,
make the world better for herself.
combined
That's,
with
yeah,
one
of
very
course.
stuff.
That's
And
very nice.
I I'm going to try to um there's 19 months in the Baha'i calendar, and there's
Mm.
like an extra intercalculary period and some other stuff. And I was thinking that because the big time of the year for the Baha'is, I might as well do something with the Baha'is. Now I realized that the Baha'is are basically the guy was you might want to give a little distance here. The Baha'is are one of those groups that branched off of Islam trying to take over the world. Although they didn't really have that spirit in America, and they've edited their books heavily since the 50s, and particularly and the last few and since, when they found out that some of the prophecies didn't come true. So they edited out some of those stuff and some of the later material. They haven't taken part in any terrorism in my lifetime. They did amass a couple armies back in the 1800s, but that's a different story. And it wasn't. Anyways, basically, I see them like, okay, the guy made his way into different positions of power, and finally decided, oh, forget being the leader of the Shia, of a particular type of Shia. I want to tell them all I'm the new prophet and try to start a new religion, and then it stopped.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
but the
that's
thing is, oh well,
kind of
if
how it goes.
the thing is, if it's there, I'm not here just for negativity. It's like Ekankar, there's plenty of issues about Ekankar, but I'm not going to just be entirely, completely negative. I'm offering alternatives when there is a problem. I'm saying, hey, well, what about this? Is it this or this? And, you know, I'm not being, that's why some authors, although they did get published and stuff, they didn't have quite the impact because it was all this negative plagiarism, whatever. It's like, yeah, we know about that, and half the people that were in Ekankar knew about that, and it wasn't like that was going to chase them away entirely, anyways. But yeah, you got to bring some positivity into the spin. I don't know how I was connecting that to what was being said.
Well, at
Started
least
on.
about the plagiarism, I mean, it's definitely. It's not when I read the books, I can get some useful information in the books for my own soul travel, and then at that point is basically okay. Well, now we have to figure it out. So the fact that Paul Twitchell or how, or I don't know if Harold plagiarized anything, but if they got the information together there for my use, that's just fine. So that's my view on that plagiarism, and the rest, yeah, we do
Okay,
figure it out.
so aside from it lining up with the seventh month of the Islamic calendar in some ways and stuff like that, yeah, I thought the Baha'i be something to talk about. But you know, the truth of your own heart is I guess the first one, and then let's go quicker through these things. And so basically, basically your typical find your own truth sort of thing, and that was one of the things. It's like, no matter how fundamentalist or how conservative or how whatever category of spirituality these Sufi masters are, the Sikhs, before they became a different religion and that sort of, the Sikhs didn't quite have the problem that the Alawiya and the Baha'i and some of the other groups had, but the Druze actually, there was some problems with the Druze at some point too. But again, we're looking at individuals rather than being prejudiced. I'd be really scared of every other Christian if I thought that the literal belief in certain parts of the Bible were, as anywhere near as common as one might think of all these people saying they're Christian. But anyways, it's that's the whole point of Sufism, I think, is it's not that you're per se inventing a new religion, it's that you're bringing out your own truth. So the truth of your heart, you could say, the truth of your spirit. What are your quick thoughts on this?
Well, basically, that would be, well, what does a person do in their life? When I say do, I mean on a spiritual level, and how is he able to put that? How is he able to bring that back into the physical level? Because one of the thoughts that I keep getting these days, or maybe one of those understandings, is that that people of themselves are not really special. I mean, as soul, we are special. There's godlike beings and so on, and then we have these very special bodies and all that. But we do have to unlock that. We do have to tap
Yeah,
into it.
we're unique, but then again, it's like you say, I've never heard of anybody having this experience, and then somehow that enables you to figure out other people have had that experience.
Oh yeah.
And people who don't look into much, it's like, what is one of the things that people say from the Quran every night before going to bed? Some people. I think it's actually a good idea to use the last verses of Al-Baqarah, but and certainly anybody who would like to pick up that practice. I'm not saying anything aside from encouragement, but the very clear point that comes through that and other things is that, hey, don't invent discriminations amongst these prophets. Don't invent. Don't have discrimination and don't invent distinctions. They came to different periods of time and place. That's true, but don't discriminate and say, "Oh, Jesus is the prophet of love." Really? When did Jesus in the Bible ever talk about love? I mean, seriously, are any of the 11 verses in the Bible that mention love actually Bible saying Jesus taught it? But somehow we're supposed to believe that Jesus is the prophet of love versus the other ones that actually maybe talked about love. The Quran has 56 explicit mentions of love by and for God, and if you're going to throw in words like mercy and good manners, like the Christians are going to run as love, why it overwhelms to an even greater extent. So,
as far as you're saying,
anyways, my point with that is that people like to say is one is better than the other, and this
Yeah.
right here in the second paragraph is one of her greatest realizations. Is okay, the material taking over, but rewritten scriptures. Very few people get that point. Is that almost everything has been rewritten.
That's true, and so if to go back to the prophets a little bit about not discriminating, yeah, definitely that's also very true. Because, for example, uh, a few days ago, I actually met, not, I mean, yeah, I definitely met Darwin Gross in a dream, and I was explicitly told by one of the Madises in the egg group, oh, forget about Darwin Gross, focus on Harold Columbia. But for me, that's what I'm feeling is,
Let me throw in a quick definition for people.
yeah.
Typically in Ekankar, after 17 years of membership, of official membership, you get the opportunity to become of the fifth circle of initiation. and that's what the Mahdis is within the Ekankar thing. Under Darwin Gross, there wasn't as much stratification in terms of how many years people had to spend. You could make your way up to even being an 8th initiate in a handful of years in the organization under Darwin Gross. I think I don't know quite what changed in terms of the ancient teachings of the masters, but that's what's kind of meant, that they made their way through all the typical discourse series, and they're ready to be an official clergy member of the group. They can lead the local meetings and stuff like that.
So what I'm saying is that definitely I'm trying to contact with all the masters, so that no matter which path, be that Ekankar, Wardenkar, there's Ekata, and so on. So, but to contact them personally and to see whether or not.
That's one of the secret. I talked about becoming a Lucifer or not, that sort of thing. You can't necessarily just choose to become the Lucifer of the age. But
Mm-hmm.
and anyways, in English, prophet means spiritually gifted. So perhaps Khatan al-Nabi, Akar Rasul, the seal of the exemplar prophets, the last of the messenger prophets. I'm not disputing that, but there are 3 types of prophets still left before you get to the fake prophets. One, okay, let's do the let's go far off to the left before we go off to the center, right? Not left-hand path, right-hand path. I'm talking people on the left that get their book in their left, that sort of thing. It's a different thing than left-hand path, right-hand path. The prophets of Satan and the prophets of sects. You look at what happened with Aleister Crowley and Joseph Smith. All the other groups are wrong, and you're going to be the right one. Throw out the rituals and all that. So, very specifically, they got a spiritual gift. Either they used it to form a sect, or they kind of, But there's the confirmatory prophet. There's this experience. There's this stuff that you have the spiritual experience that confirms what these exemplar messenger prophets have came before, and that's sort of. So that's one of the secrets of Islam, is that there's still prophets, but not, there's this that people can still have the experience. People go on Hajj and come back and have these experiences, and it's like, by English terms, you're a prophet, but they might not want to say that in their community because it could be misunderstood that they're saying, "Oh, everybody has to believe in me." That's the thing. Nobody's coming forth having these experience where. That's the teaching, is that they don't have to. Your
of
face
course,
is still,
there's still prophets, and what you're saying about well,
how can be spiritually gifted end? It's like I could pick up. I don't have a copy of Bukhari Muslim, and those are the ones I'm more familiar with. But I could pick up some of these hadith books I have, or some of the compilation. There's like 40 books. They have quotes from 40 books or 6 books or whatever, and point out that Muhammad definitely believed that there were other prophets other than him, because people had visions of the light beings and some other stuff, and he acknowledged that. He didn't say that was going to end. He didn't say that the prophetic dream was going to end. He wasn't saying that. So that's one of the secrets of Islam. I thought I'd just bring that up in the midst.
Definitely, and talking about being the Lucifer of the age, well, we can be the Lucifer of the age, and we should be, because that is all about bringing the truth of your own heart out as well. Because what that means is, so you have the experience with Lucifer, you have the union with Lucifer, and then, okay, so what does that mean to you, and what are you gonna bring to the world? How are you gonna impose that? So that, and it becomes
certainly in the Buddhist sense of looking at saying, oh well, it's not Islam, Buddhism, whatever, talks about the legacy. A lot of groups, they talk about you live on through your legacy, you live on through your energy, through your memory. That's that's part of how you're living on, and therefore you have to connect. You can say you connect to figures before, not per se that you necessarily have to be in some direct contact with them as living entities, but you're in connection with them. I lost you.
It's okay. I'll turn it on. I'll just have to get some apps off because my phone is gonna the battery is draining faster than I anticipate. Okay, so just a second.
Oh,
Just just so I can chat a little longer here. There we go.
but yeah, we're definitely here to have our own experience. But how can there be, if there's not people really trying? How can one be the one? How can one be the top spiritual figure? It doesn't of the time. It doesn't. It definitely requires a series of us enlightened figures to step forward and do something. And that's the thing about legacy. If everybody gets credit for their legacy and their support, then how are we as on the human level supposed to judge? My sample is about to end. I don't even know what I was being messaged about, but it might not even be the wrong a sample. I mean, if they sent me a food snack in the food, how would they know whether or not I was about to finish it? But yeah, definitely a self-discovery. That's okay. So when asked, they respond with, okay, it's the promotion of joy. We've kind of talked about this, but the promotion of joy.
Yeah.
What is it? What's
Well, the promotion. I mean, so yeah. So first of all, it's gonna start with, like I said, within us. So what are we gonna do? What practices are we gonna do to obtain actual joy, satisfaction, happiness? And then, so what practices are we gonna do to get that in the outer world? So what kind of spells and so on? And then that's going to be okay. So how am I gonna promote the message of what I have uncovered as far as how to become joyful, how to become ecstatic or happy or fulfilled, or so that would be the kind of joy I would promote. So I choose to promote the joy of magic, of spells, and all those things to the people that can benefit from it. So that would be my message, and I would choose to promote that. Hey, you do actually have power not only to deal with some spells or make minor changes. You do have power to get supernatural powers and so forth, and that really would be what fulfills a man to go above the normal human level. That would be the real fulfillment. So whether it be in pleasure or in power.
And this thing we have the mention of the experience. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm trying to shorten this so we can actually finish this. I'm sure you're going to have to plug in, or that's what you just did. You might want to look up and give a little
Yes.
space, but eventually when we can, yeah, it helps to look at the screen if you want look into figure your adjustment of the picture. But the ceasing of the detrimental and experiencing the most beneficial ones, to shorten part of what's being said there. So not just joy, but looking what it's doing to yourself and others, I guess, too, but suffering. So we have the mention here
Oh, yeah.
okay, well, suffering is a choice. Okay, well, people don't understand what that means, but it's clearing it up in the very thing that you're going to see very standard to Buddhism, of the and a lot of paths. I keep saying Buddhism, but that's the book I just recorded to have go up. So that's where my mind keeps returning very frequently. And but is that hardship and suffering are two different things. Discontent, dukkha as it's called, is different than hardship. And again, it's not like I'm, I one of the things dealing with some groups is they say people deserve, rape victims and various other people deserve it, because if you can't figure out why they deserved it in terms of this life, they did something in a previous life. So it's a lot of victim blame like that. So that's not where things are going here. But a point that how Ekankar, a point that something that you could see in this book here is that just like Ekankar, they have peculiar, everything capital letters in a word. Certain words and phrases like that could be capitalized. They're using that technique, and there's some unique spelling. Like I said, Eve. Eve is spelled with 3V3. So, universe being spelled. Well, I mean, I don't need to bring up all the examples, but that's one of the things going on. So, in short, what would you have to say about suffering, the difference between suffering and hardship, and what to do about it? And
they
talk about
suffering.
affirmations.
I mean, I mean, maybe I talked about it in one of the episodes, but just to return to it briefly. Suffering, as far as, let's say, being a disabled person, or being a person who thinks that he has to die, he is mortal, and there's no escape, or there's all kinds of discontent because no matter what you do or what kind of pleasures you engage in or whatever, it's not enough. So that's the real suffering. But the hardship, begins when you say, okay, this is my goal, and that's what I got to do. But to reach it, these are the hardships that I have to go through. So that's, in my mind, that's how I understand the word hardship. So that begins when you have a goal, when you have a purpose, and you can actually get it, and you can actually end the suffering, you can actually end the hardship. So.
And aside from awareness, we have the talking of so life. So we talked about purpose of life, and so here we're seeing life in terms of, okay, despite this, in this, reaction to this, dealing with that. So the value, the value, our function, that sort of thing of life. I'm going to look up something very quick here. So, share your opinion. I haven't gone too far.
Well, most definitely. Once figure out as far as what is needed to get rid of suffering as previously defined, then the value of life is that if we go through the hardship, we can actually get rid of all the suffering. We can obtain all our desires. The value of life. So essentially, what I'm saying is, the value of life is such that we have no prescribed limitation upon. There's no upon us. There's no final limitation. So therefore, the value of life is that in living life and in engaging in some sort of hardships, but towards the goal of transcendence. By that transcendence, we can get, heal evil. Oh yeah. By that transcendence, we can get.
I don't have it. They have a bumper sticker that says. I mean I'm showing my extras here, but they have a bumper sticker that says "No Precedent." Now I haven't seen them, and if anybody wants to hire me to do turn my meme into a bumper sticker or something, Cthulhu 2020, no more years. Why vote for the lesser evil? That sort of thing. But so I understand the no president sentiment. I think we should. I think half the country should really write in Cthulhu. That would get the point across. But anyways, I think we can do better. So valor. Speaking of the current condition of life, it's not really the current condition of life, but you know what I mean. This is one book I'm getting into. So valor is the Deccan card of right now. So any idea before we continue along in here? See, we're getting to the cards. We're getting to the cards of the time right now. So so about valor, about the Seven of Wands. The
well, could you actually remind? I mean, I have it like a knowing in my mind as to what it is, but could you actually remind me the English definition, because I know it's about righteousness, right? Something like that. So.
Well, in this context, definitely that would be helpful. Again, it's like the problem that people have with the idea of magic is, okay, whether you have it as the art and science of religion or as the willful changes of consciousness or manipulation, that sort of thing, that's a moral phrase. So again, are you going to take is it going to be righteous or wickedness? And the way some people talk about righteousness, who wants to be righteous anyways, it's it's the way people speak about things. It's like and I understand. I understand if Daster, Adam Daniels, and some others want to banish their. They call it the soul, but I think what they mean by soul is the Fravashi, and I understand some of that sentiment. Not saying I necessarily agree with that, but the what I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I have a copy of the Seven of Swords. Oh, I do. I do. This is one of my tarot series. I take current series and I redraw them. Maybe I do the attributes a little different. So
Oh, that's very good. So let me see.
When we're in here and I remember, I might as well share some of what I've done myself.
Yeah, and it's a very good card. And so what I'm seeing that definitely is, of course, we have the darkness. So, and we have these, and these are swords, right? So.
Well, they're wands.
Oh yes, sorry. So the wands, I'm seeing them as a certain sort of blockage.
Somebody pretty good with the club, though, so it can be.
So the darkness and the wands are acting as a blockage. So valor towards obstacles, so that empowering thyself with valor towards obstacles, so as to surmount the obstacles. So that would be my reading of.
It's like in that one. It's like in Al Adiyat, that Surah in the Quran, striking together at the foe as one, and so you're here, holding the one, and you're just, because you went through it with that sort of bravery, that.
Oh yeah, that is what that is. We do have to go through to get to the point, to get to the realization, to get to whatever.
Alexander the Great. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't Dulcarnain. People need to stop with that. That's just something that some random person made up to comment with no real support of this conclusion. But the he was criticized. He basically he was the almost rejected son, Philip of Macedon, and Philip, that's but he knew it. He knew he had to be trained. He knew he had to be trained, not necessarily exactly how he was told to be trained. He wanted to be trained philosophically. He had favor towards some training versus the other. He knew he wasn't perhaps the best in terms of swimming or some other things that would have been useful for a soldier, but he went at it. He knew there was something for him to become, and he certainly became something. Whether or not the ethics of his battles, whatever. But so another thing, obviously, that needs to be referred to is the microcosm and the macrocosm. You notice that, for example, the microcosm being the 5-pointed star, that people are so afraid of the 5-pointed star, and the 6-pointed star being more standardly the macrocosm, and you put them together, and you have the oldest of being in the tree of life and all that other stuff. But so anyway, so they obviously they're talking about starting within, healing yourself, dealing with yourself, another to bring about the change of the world, rather than
definitely, that's exactly what I'm saying all the time. Yeah, you
rather
have
than
to raise your own level, definitely.
One of the things that you may have noticed that I've started on, I actually came up with a 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th chapter of the Book of Revelation. Basically, I made it sound kind of dark. I thought that's how I should paint it. That's kind of, but I was winging it. I took up the book. I'm like, okay, how can I relate this to the runes? How can I make this sound dark in a way? How can I make this less about worshiping? I get apocalyptic literature. Some of it has visions and stuff, but the thing is, it's not actually inspired in terms of divinely. It's like the Zoroastrian to the Quranic tradition has the idea that there's extra texts that were inspired, but God didn't give the words. The Bible, the New Testament was basically philosophized, but apocalyptic literature is basically like a scholarly text written by some mystic about explaining what's going on right now. But isn't that what you're supposed to do in a typical spiritual service, is get people ready to respond to the current situation?
Yeah, and and we can actually do the apocalyptic writings. I mean, we can get into contact, we can receive these things. So that's one of the things I'm actually gonna do. I'm gonna do a gospel. I would want to write a gospel on Jesus, definitely. So contact with him, and and then I would like to write a Bible of Satan, but like a real.
I'm not saying people have experience, but I'm saying it's not. Now, sometimes the Quran uses the phrase jumbled dreams, and it's not saying that there's not value to about jumbled dreams. It's not, but it's not exactly the same as, oh, this dude's the prophet. We all have to. This is who we're all expected to follow, or it's going to count against us or something. But listen, I mean, it's, I've written down some extra information and stuff here, but I've got the words of truth. And how did this, June 2002, I had some experience. I had a handful of dreams on a Monday. I woke up on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And so I have these down by chapters. And I noticed some correlations after I wrote down these dreams. And I don't quite remember all the Egyptian, because there was a lot of Egyptian text in the middle of the stuff. But how does it start? These are the words of Jafar, Sa'i, and Baknecherwa. And then I share my lineage, and which I wrote in the land of the eagle, whose number is 19 and 31. And 5 was protection, and 7 was energy. I did light the candles so that I could read the recited. So, there's definitely something going on that's kind of mixed in with some of the other sources that I say could have. But yeah, we definitely can write our own spiritual text in a way, but we got to be careful about what we claim and be honest about it.
Oh yeah. And the
but
dreams are actually the most. I mean, it's basically the most revelatory space. Absolutely. I mean, all kinds of things, but we can definitely dream some serious apocalyptic deals. I once dreamt of Belial as the destroyer of worlds, and in at that point in my mind, I realized that, hey, you can't work against him at all. You have to join him. You have to join the devil, and so. So that's one of those lessons we can definitely. I'm just checking out for my. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can make my phone last a bit longer. There we go.
Yeah. Well, experiencing the universe is where we're at next, and so.
Well,
what you want to think about? It says that what you want to think about your ideology is is to directly benefit yourself, and to to figure out a way to organize your experience, I guess, and to okay, I'm putting that in my own words, but
I mean, definitely, yeah.
Assuming there's more than just what we can empirically verify at the moment, but. So what are your ideas on experiencing and understanding the universe, but not entirely as a fantasy game, but it can seem like a fantasy game, some of this stuff.
Well, experiencing and understanding the universe. I mean that can definitely be said to be the meaning of life. I mean we might think it to be impossible or whatever, but as far as I've seen it, there are definitely forces that can grant the understanding of the microcosm and the macrocosm, and really, this whole. Once I asked my mentor, what's the meaning of life, and he said, development, and it is definitely that we're slowly going up the scales, and we can comprehend the microcosm and the macrocosm. So I think that needs to be kept as a very clear.
I'm trying this. again, trying to make our way through it. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get this done in one. But the one thing that they're saying is, the limiting perception. It's like, yes, we have our limitations, but do we know our limitations? Or are they just what we're told? So that's one of the things that they're talking about. Is that we have our limitations, but just don't presume that you're limited, and therefore, why can we imagine all this stuff, but why can't it be made a reality? Perhaps it's because we can imagine what could become a reality, um, and
Yes, we
and that
can.
mythology, mythology isn't that one of the things? Is that
Yeah.
and
Okay.
well, I guess that fits into the court card of the month. You know what the court card of the month is, because Cardinal Fire, we're dealing with the Queen of the Queen of Wands. Now I know that one video calls it the slut card, but let's go beyond that meaning for a second here. The I mean, not my video, someone else's video. He's basically making fun of for hire, I will see the future because you paid me to see the future, that sort of stuff. So he pulls out. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it's one of the jokes about equating or something. But he pulls out the Queen of Wands and says, "This is the slut card." And I don't remember what else he said, but that's the memorable part of that video, really. But so it's not quite like the princess, because the queen represents a level of development that the princess doesn't have, but it could represent a sort of set in ways, perhaps. But it's the conception to get stuff done. It's like the wife that motivates the husband to get done what he couldn't get done otherwise. If it wasn't for that wife, he wouldn't get that stuff done. And that's what's going on with the Queen of Wands. I mean, there's more to it than that, but you have any personal ideas about the Queen of Wands?
Ah, I mean, yeah. Let me remember. It's the prince. I remember the princess. Let's see if I can remember the queen. Do you have a card that you could just put on the screen, because I would then have to have a nice little basis on which
But
to scry. If
she
I can
shows
see it.
she shows off. She shows off, and um. Oh, I don't. Okay.
Oh yeah, now I remember. I remember what
Okay. Well,
she.
here are my court. Here's all the court cards and the one and ace into one. All of the fire suit. So we got
Oh,
here. You know, the princess sits on the ace, doesn't she?
let's check
But
it out.
you know, but we got the old fashioned thing. So sort of the king sort of would be the Leo, but then maybe the queen would be. Oh yeah, that's definitely the queen. I knew that was the queen. But using Ekankar temples, I've added Ekankar temples to this series, and that's the Soul Plane temple. It's the last one where you really get a diagram, what it's shaped like, because you have
Yeah, let me see, because I lowered my. So let me see it now. Okay. Oh, there we go. Lowered my brightness. There we go. So this is, you drew. Wait. So these are these are.
the Queen of Wands.
Oh, okay.
The Queen of Wands making a show, but it's a show of her accomplishment, and some of its inherent nature, some of its tame nature,
So the
but
queen should be like at the top of the at the top of the at the top of the. She's at the top, right, somewhere. I'm looking to find to
we're,
figure
we're,
out
connect,
what's.
we're connecting the color that is used as an indicator for the soul plane. I got to be careful of these. You know, you don't want to touch the paint and show these things off and destroy the painting over time. But I mean, at least it's showing up on video so people can see what we're talking about. But see, she's showing off, kind of like Alexander's mother, but she's she's directing things. She's got the power the power of the animal, the tame
Oh yeah.
wild.
This is
Um,
a very very tribal painting. To me, I'm looking at the thing that's behind her basically. That kind of looks like, to me, that kind of looks like like a linga, like a Shiva linga, and it's like,
it's the soul plane temple. If you notice,
oh yeah.
there's a spiral staircase and doors or windows, you could say, at each of the points. So we know the soul through flashes, but without looking at it symbolically, see, there's more. That's part of the reason of having the temples at the top, because there's always more to do. I mean, why would these symbols just be? I mean, death is great and everything. Well, maybe it's not, but the you know, so I guess that's basically it. But basically, even though she's accomplished, there's something more to do about things.
Oh
And
yeah,
definitely,
and I mean this painting,
it's
I
it's
mean,
like it's like voting rights for women. Okay, it's not about necessarily putting women in charge, but definitely let them have some level of say, and let them have say when they're a bit younger. They hit puberty younger. There's an indication that something's going on. It's kind of sexist to have them have the same voting age and everything else as the males, because why should they be more physically and mentally developed in order to have the same position as males? So all this sameness, all you feminists that are trying to say that things have to be exactly the same, you're downcasting women for where they're a little further along. But you're
yeah.
but if you look at the screen, it will show you where your face is, so that will help. But moving on to consciousness. Okay, I mean, if you have any ideas before I say stuff, or
Yeah, so I mean, as far
uh,
as what I've seen with this painting you showed me, that definitely, it very nicely shows something maybe that even Ekankar doesn't show, is the fact that, although she's accomplished, you have those you have all those tribal things around her, and you have the temple, and you have the power flooding into her. But it does show that not only do you connect should you connect to the highest planes, or the soul plane, or whatever, but you should also connect to your own tribal and animalistic and the most base earth aspects, and master that as well, with the help of the divine power. So that would be kind of the message that I received looking at at that particular drawing.
so there's consciousness, and consciousness is referring to of dimensions, different aspects of the self, referring to dimension, looking at different layers of things at the same time. So we talked about the Magical Egypt series, particularly the second one, is looking at is looking very explicitly at schematics of consciousness. So, I mean, so singular or multiple perspectives, that sort of thing. What are your thoughts that you would like to say in regards to that sort of thing?
You mean, what do I think about consciousness, right? So, well,
Yeah, what is consciousness? Is it what we are? Is it
oh
it,
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, as far as I've read, and as far as I can understand, as far as I know, definitely what we are is. I mean, soul is consciousness. At the end of the day, the sugma is consciousness, soul is consciousness. So there's really kind of really no difference, and and the light and sound is also, it's alive, it animates all things. So everything is basically a product of consciousness. So consciousness is God, consciousness is man, consciousness is the creator. So it's kind of the biggest thing. I mean, kind of the
so
thing.
it's is ultimate is ultimate reality to you? I know we've talked about some of these other things, but let's
Okay.
what some of the things I'm saying is because I want each video, whether I'm talking to someone or myself, to kind of stand by itself. So it's okay. It's like, why do I have to watch 5 other videos just to watch your one video? Trust me, just watch 5 videos. Um, the the it's like I don't really remember too much, but it's like I don't have to. I don't know if you got your prayer that you were doing on your channel, um, something from the Golden Dawn or something. But you don't have to know that it's from the Golden Dawn. Unto thee, soul wise, soul eternal, soul merciful one. Unto thee, we are. I don't
Oh
remember what
yeah, oh yeah, I got
have
that.
the whole form of the thing, but yeah. I mean, you don't have to know that it's from the Golden Dawn for it to. I don't know.
It is, and I got that. It was I read it first in the Milo the Cat book, but yeah, it's a quite a good
Um,
quite a good prayer
which
too.
which of his books, because he has like 18 in print and like 2 that aren't, or something like that.
Oh yeah, so it
And
was
he's done forwards for a lot of books too.
Low Magic. He included that quote in Low Magic. Yeah, that prayer. And I'll still have to go plug in the phone, but that's okay.
And I mean, before we go on, you can definitely work low magic and high magic together. It's not that you can't have your effect. It's like I talk about the sensual role, the psychiatric role in spirituality. That doesn't mean that there's not devotion and development that's part of having these experiences. That's you know. Um, so I just thought I'd like to pass it on,
Yeah, I
because
mean, it definitely
you're,
works.
you're,
It
mentioning, you're
definitely
definitely
works.
mentioning some things that's going to
Works on all levels.
throw
So
people off. But you know, if a person really wants to, as the bumper sticker says, heal evil and you know, refer to possible aliens or maybe government technology or whatnot, you got to really address things as if they really exist. So you got to refer to things that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable to perhaps get you to the ultimate reality that they would say. And as I would say, the ultimate reality of consciousness is not these Western diagrams where you got circles and lines and all that stuff. And those are very valuable things. You walk your way through Hajj, you go to Mecca and you do the Hajj, and the Hajj is, I haven't done it. I don't know if I'm even physically capable of enduring the whole thing, but at least not on a reliable thing after the plane trip and everything. But I certainly don't have the money. But the thing is the thing with that is that you're walking through the psychological diagram, and you know, space. You're setting up. So I'm sorry.
yeah,
So the ultimate reality. I mean, the ultimate reality of consciousness, not per se if you say the living being is conscious, but the ultimate reality is the blank slate. So yes, this all the stuff that it's operating is true. So the cube, the mental construction of consciousness and all that other stuff is, but the dot, the ultimate reality. So you got the ultimate being referred to,
yeah, the
the
omnipresent,
month and everything.
infinitely small, infinitely big.
And that dream, I mean, it's not a dream of going to Mecca, although it's along those same lines. You got the cube, but the cube was a cube altar of the Enochian tablets, the black cross as its own tablet in between, and each 4 of the sides is the other watchtower tablets. It was an interesting layout I've never seen before. I mean, before I had that experience a decade ago, but yeah,
So
that's so the ultimate reality you're getting, so
was that experience in a dream? Let me just, because I got
dreams, visions, stuff happen. I lay down to meditate with the Noki key. Sometimes you don't know whether it's a vision or you're sleeping.
Oh yeah.
Are you still setting up, or do you need to?
No, it's fine. I plugged in the phone, so.
Okay, so if you can, if you can see the phone, you can probably see on your screen that you kind of can give yourself a. But now you're tilted a different way than I am. Is that possible, or are you kind of stuck like that? It's fine if you are. That's.
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, that's sort of the direction. I mean, you do sometimes want to make your audience feel kind of different to kind of adjust themselves and get them into it, but don't want to chase away half the people that don't do this. The but we'll get it right eventually. But anyways, the ultimate reality of your consciousness, as it would be said. Oh, my battery is getting low too. The So what is ultimate reality is, I guess, the question.
Well,
Ultimate reality and personal reality are the two things.
essentially, the ultimate reality would be, yeah. So first of all,
Okay,
we
yeah.
go for
Now I'm tilting off to the side, and I don't know if I can actually set this anywhere. Oh well, I guess I can.
yeah. So the ultimate reality would be, yeah. First of all, we go to the God realization, to the God consciousness, and we. I mean, there's infinite planes, so there's no one absolute ultimate reality. But we go up as far as we can go, and then we can descend with all the divinity, with all the God realization, with all the powers, and really make something awesome here in this world. So that would be, and the best that we can make it, that and the farthest that we can go ourselves. It's individual. It cannot, it doesn't have like a final point, like I said. So that would be the ultimate reality, definitely. I mean, we have to become the ultimate in ourselves in order to get there. So that's
So again, it's a process of becoming or
oh
distinguishing, as you say,
oh
between. But personal and ultimate reality are things talked about. So I guess, okay, what are some of their thoughts? Say something. I'm trying to summarize here in a quick. Okay, your reality is reality. Your reality is legit. I don't know what is that the lyric of her song? I don't know. You haven't seen it, so
yeah.
But I mean, we are, I mean, we can't. Other people's decisions are other people's decisions. It's like that's the reason why in this day and age, or even in all ages, really, trying to make somebody have a different religion, it's not going to work. It's that's not the thing at all. And oh, I need to turn it on. Hopefully, okay, I'm not sure if that was enough. I was worried for a second. I thought maybe I had the. But yeah, what you do with your thinking changes definitely how you perceive and what happens as a result of it. So, but one thing that I'm not quite sure, it's like, okay, if you believe you're a god or a cat or an alien or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It's that you can believe the world is flat. I'm not sure you can actually get enough people together to believe that the world is and make the world flat because enough people believe that the world is flat. But that's an example that was brought up. She doesn't believe that the world is flat. She was just using that as an example.
Well, yeah, that's what they think. And how does this really pan out? Well, basically, Jesus said, as you may know, that faith is so limitless. We can move mountains with faith and all that. It is true, but it goes back to a whole kind of magic. There's even a specific spirit that actually helps you develop a sort of limitless faith, so that you can accomplish anything. So in a way, yes. And then there's also a question. Okay, well, how far along spiritually are you? What exercises did you do? What plane did you reach so that you could be able to do such a thing? Because moving planets, that's on a whole other level. So it takes more work than just believing. Definitely.
But look at what happens on a psychological level, and that what is people convince themselves that this is not the age of Aquarius, it's the age of Aries or something like this. So they're not even doing their astrology based on any actual pattern in the sky. Things are shifted 33 degrees off or 60 degrees off or 30 degrees, something. They got it wrong. So if it's the age of Aquarius, and also the people don't realize that the constellations, if you average them out, okay, we got Capricorn, March is let's just say March is Aquarius, and then Pisces, and then Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. I mentioned all 12, right? But and then you have the decans, and it's not so even. But people, if you tell yourself it's even and you use symbology in that way, whatever. But that way, people fully adjust. Say, oh, it's the age of Aquarius. Maybe the lines turn green as a September sign. It's not a It's not a June sign anymore. It's not a March sign anymore. So we got to have a whole different attribute of it. So switching the water and the water and the swords, I mean the water and the air signs and the fire and the earth signs in terms of their attributes. If humanity's using such symbolism would switch it, modernize per se, then you might have certain things that happen as a result. But
yeah, and it goes back to the point.
It doesn't actually change the physical universe. It just changes what we're doing with it.
Yeah, and it goes back to the point that yes, that this can be used. I mean, the astrology can be used. It's very good in some cases, but at the same time, I mean, to go back a little bit to Ekankar, that would be that definitely we want to use the soul records, and get the real, pure information that's above the causal plane and all that. So that would be So we start with the stars. It's like a nice tool, but we want to go beyond that as well.
And not just I mean. What I'm saying.
Actually, very interesting.
Associate correspondences. Correspondences was the word I was using. I was thinking of, but correspondences, you can go beyond correspondences to a soul level where you're not just picking up a dream dictionary or that sort of thing. You're in charge of the symbolism. So harming none is again a concept that you're in charge of. You're looking at experience. You're looking at your own sense, and if you can't see the screen, you're kind of not postured full face in the screen because people like to see the face. Once someone I'm trying to get. I know it's like we know you're in your 50s or you're 60 or whatever. You're not you, but it's
no.
like we know when this one guy was first on YouTube in 2009 and stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, you don't look as youthful as you did back then. You have more lines in your face and you're kind of worn out and stuff. But hey, don't worry about it. You can still appear on camera. It's not not the end of the world, and it's being real. All these fake plastic surgery people, you don't even know what their lips are supposed to look like or their skin color or when they have so much makeup, you have no clue what they look like. I mean, just be a real person. Even an old wrinkly man. Didn't the Tibetan that was 141 years old have pictures taken the year he died? Not pictures in the arrogant sort of I just want my photo out there for people to look at. It's like he knew he was a important figure for how long he'd been and that sort of thing. So he was on camera in some of his last years of life. So old and wrinkly that he looked like a living mummy. He wasn't self-conscious about that. So, we just gotta,
Yeah, that's fine. At the same time, it reminds us that, death is like a bad habit. I'll send you the link with this website with this quote, but they say death is a bad habit, and we have the choice to drop it. So that's a good thing to keep in mind as we
harming none. We got to figure out, not about living or dying or whatnot. The other, we just have to figure out, and maybe going further than that and looking at other people's pain and doing what we can with other people's pain. But that doesn't mean, like, for example, I saw this woman in a laundry room, and I actually kind of knew how to take advantage of the situation, if you know what I mean. I mean, it would have been both of our decisions, and but I just focused on making her I just said a couple things, hopefully to make her feel better for the moment or something. She had a book in her hand about when you love too much or some ridiculous nonsense title like that. But it's like, I can bring up Surah 2, 165. It's not that you don't love creation and everything else. It's that people love the others as they should be loving God. It's, that's how that first verse goes. But what happens? What happens when you love God most of all? Now we're going to get into the Unicult way of talking about this, about God and stuff. But at least I think we are. But no, it's that you don't be all sociopathic and psychopathic about it. It's like, oh yeah, you want to be good for other people, but you don't be good for other people, and you're basically their hand and foot slave for just no good reason. You know, you want to help your parents when you're old, but not so that they're going to pig out in front of the couch a little longer because they call you to get something done rather than getting it done themselves. That's not quite what's being talked about. They do need to get off the couch, because or that's what's happening, and maybe less of the loud it kills people. You get older and you not only like to listen to it loud, you just plop down in front of a loud television and it's hard on your heart. Cardiologists will tell you it's hard on your heart. So why in the world but I don't have to pay attention to the world if I'm just okay. Well, I understand that. Forgiveness. Is there limits to forgiveness, or is there methods of forgiveness, or?
Well, so let me just backtrack a little, because I want to talk about, so harming none. Actually, well, what can I say? First of all, the virtues, like every single virtue you can pick out, the Christian virtues or whatever, Muslim virtues or whatever. It's nice up to a point. Like I always say, I had one friend, or I still have him, but he would say, "Oh, so it's not enough to just abide by the Ten Commandments." I said, "No, because that's only gonna give you some good karma in this life and maybe in the next life, but that's not enough. That's not liberation. That's not realization." So
the Church of Hermetic Sciences had a film. They did a film to kind of represent the choice between in the second initiation, and this thing I actually plan to look more into that group, not because I consider it some sort of revelation or something authoritative in that sort of way, but it's an interesting analysis and presentation and stuff that's been gone into and some of that. But the Beyond Lemuria thing, one of its segments was, what about 10 other they have more in the book. The movie has actually left out. It's like, why not add one more minute to the movie and have your full 10 positive commandments? Have the full 10 positive commandments, not half of them. But that's the thing. It's like, what is the point with mainstream religion? It's not just, mainstream religion actually has this in. It's like most things are lawful. Most things are lawful. So focusing on what you shouldn't. And as far as harming none, sometimes minimizing harm means bringing back the death penalty.
Yes.
Now I don't think that I don't now speaking of the Bible, I'm not saying that the death penalty needs to be anywhere near as many things as the Bible says. Apostasy and blasphemy and stuff like this. Not every not every religion actually encourages that. That book clearly has nothing in it that would say that you kill people for mere disbelief, apostasy, or blasphemy. That's not how they deal with those issues. But some religions do, and some religions also have other ideas that we don't want to go off killing people for. So, or maybe we want to, but it's not right.
And the harming would be an important part.
When they're talking about forgiveness, they are realizing that there's emotions and experiences and thoughts and all that sort of stuff that people have. So it's, so you may feel like killing someone, but maybe you shouldn't,
So as far, and just to finish off the harming, basically as far as magic goes, I think it's mandatory. If you're learning baneful magic, then it's mandatory to learn to not only to defend yourself, but to actually kill someone. If you need to have a purpose for it or whatever, that's fine. But what that means is it gives you a skill, it gives you a sort of accomplishment, empowerment, and so it's a spiritual achievement. That's a fact, So yeah, and forgiveness. Definitely. I mean, well, honestly, yes. I mean, if I get slapped in the face, first I want to curse the person who slapped me in the face, so that I get kind of protected by the curse, and I kind of deal with my enemy. But at the same time, if I need that person alive, and if I need to continue working with them, then when they're kind of worked off by the curse, then I can start to bless them and pray for them and forgive them, and fix that whole thing. So it's like chopping off the tree, so you get a new tree to grow back from the same old stem. So that's kind of my understanding. And
Well,
forgiveness, yeah.
and they're
So
talking about this is going longer than I thought. Trying to, but we could actually turn each one of these into a thing. But let's try to, if you can think of a few sentences, and I'll try to do that too. It's not all you. So the we are all one aspect, or the interconnectedness, just like the curses go through us. So if you're going to curse people, you got to curse them. But it's like when you're in a battle or something, yeah, you got to throw out a curse. It's not that you stop and you write down the cursing rune and throw it before the person's like, what this freak do? He drew a little horse thing, or what did he throw down at me? You don't have time for that in real life. Um,
yeah,
I mean, if you carry one with you, that's a different story. It's like it could cause the person to pause, and therefore it gets you to get a good wallop in. But yeah, but yeah, we have to understand that when we're doing these things, it goes through us. It's like when people talk about the Gautaya, the Gautaya, because it has but it doesn't have omega. It has omicron. So you know, gamma, omicron. What's the name of the M? I don't remember. Okay, but anyways, but people like they automatically resort to these cursing of the spirits of the Goetia, not Goetia. Too many people say Goetia. Stop. I keep falling into it. But too many people just jump to cursing whatever these entities are.
yeah.
So let's take it back to okay. So physical reality, the empirical truth of things. So how is physical reality constructed, one might say, in short, if you want to throw off a paragraph full of a myth to explain that, that's perfectly fine. Or that.
Well,
Okay. Let's quicken things by saying there's spiritual reality, social reality, and
no, I mean, not really. Not. We should probably just specify the fact that spiritual reality is really the only reality. Then you can pull back down and pull back to the earth, and then you have the sort of what E.A. Cording calls the infernal empire. And it's a physical reality that is still deeper than the physical. So you kind of have two realities. But social reality is not really a reality. It's a sort of these are aspects. These are just things that exist in reality, and these are basically concepts, not really realities. But yeah.
It's like I don't know if this is my next Bhagavad Gita as it is lecture series comment, or whether it's a previous one. But one of the things that I recently wrote down was the thing. If you look at the screen to decide where to place yourself, that might be a better idea. The idea that everything can be spiritual in terms of one's choice. On the other hand, the material, I'm not even saying the words that I'm saying, but I'm just okay. So let's forget what I said, or I'm going to say but this material doesn't exist without the spiritual.
Yes.
But the spiritual can exist without the material, and even the psychic can exist only with the spiritual, but sometimes without the material.
Yes.
But it does. It's again.
It has some matter in it too. Yeah.
And the material can kind of. But again, different things. But social reality. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is working together. It's not that, for example, you never pray, you never fast, you never do any other sort of ritual. You don't do whatever just because other people don't. And in non-spiritual behavior, it's still the same thing. But sometimes it's better to say, okay, today, it's like this was not a required thing or anything, but I remember very specifically, it's like, hey, this is a good day to fast. Such and such is a good day to fast next week. Let's fast and let's meet afterwards to break fast together. And that sort of thing was very specifically done. If you back up a little bit,
I have fasted, not really fasted at all, but as far as I have not eaten as much as I would, I really felt a change in my own and how I felt in my own energy and all that. So it is really, really powerful, That's true. So fasting is not just for some unapparent reason. It does have an impact on our energies, most definitely. It's pretty good impact.
Spiritual leadership. Okay,
yeah, that's important.
Naturally, hierarchy exists, and it's kind of downplayed in Unicult, that fact. But certainly, we can take charge. In some way, we're all supposed to be spiritual leaders, particularly when you talk about outsiders. Okay, well then maybe you're not the leader in the group, but you're a leader over perhaps other people. Not necessarily that it's mere power seeking, but it's taking charge of your own power rather than giving it up.
Yeah, I definitely think that leading, that leading has to be the position has to be claimed, the mastery has to be claimed, the spiritual mastership has to be claimed, and the spiritual
acting okay, enlightenment and frequency, higher frequency, that sort of thing. Majority frequency. Okay, that's words being used in that one. So I just thought I'd throw that out
there. So, first of all, the frequency, the higher frequency has to be gained. Then, when the person gains when we reach it, we can then begin to lead. And in my opinion, yeah, it's absolutely important to get the leadership. Ekankar is the same sort of example. Definitely there's people there that branched off of it and say, okay, I'm going to do my own movement, and they do, and they become masters, and they lead and all that. So that's, I support that.
What did I say last? The one of the books of Aleister Crowley that I presented last year was, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. I don't really have live capability of this of my channel anymore. But what happened was that, when my battery's low, I have this whole show may not be angled right. I don't know. We'll see. If it's off to the side, it's off to the side. But he basically said he wanted that those who had advanced among his following were able to found their own religions, as he would say.
Yes.
That were able to start their own groups. And so, but that blends into the next, but it's not necessarily the thing of, Ekankar uses the term mini masters. It's not necessarily that you're going around me, well, you are, that your own reality comes through you, but it's not that you're you are considering others and it's their placement, and you're going along with them. And
as far as who is
not necessarily that I should be the one in charge of, or the rest of you and all that. That's not quite the thing. Of course, you do accept power when it comes to you. I'm not saying that at all. Political or other power, if it's something that you can responsibly act out upon, yeah, do it.
Oh yeah. Taking up
conflict resolution would be the next point, because it's like, whether in Thelema or some other, or in this group, there's going to be conflict of one sort or another, particularly when people want things their way, or so.
Well, essentially, basically, the most powerful person is the one that's going to resolve the conflict, because he is in control. So so that would be kind of my view on that. That we gotta empower ourselves again first. But at the same time, if there's conflict, if we turn to something spiritual once again, be that a certain god name, or a certain positive power, or so on, it would be these
I'm trying to
things.
gesture. You're kind of, if you can see the screen, you'll
Yeah,
know that kind of you kind of want to have your head centered in the screen, like that. About yeah.
yeah. So that would be kind of how I would choose to resolve conflict. Because socially, I mean, we realize that you kind of dim it down, and then it starts again, and so forth. But at the same time, it's pretty much necessary. So it's more the struggle of each individual against whatever kind of conflict they encounter. And then if we can go beyond that, if we can reach the mastery, then we can definitely let the spirit flow and
And
harmonize.
well, the one thing
Well,
they're bringing up here is, I mean, she's bringing up here is, are Z or Zers, as she would like to be called. I don't mean to upset you by this, but I'm just, we know what your body is, so we're going to naturally refer not to the
yeah.
pronouns people have came up with. It's not an insulting thing. It's not. But so yes, you don't have to agree, and even if it goes beyond not agreeing, you can definitely consider the reaction, emotional or otherwise, that people have as, hey, it wasn't the appropriate reaction. But again, emotions, you don't have to act on emotions. That's the thing that people don't quite get. It's like, um, people cycle through their emotions and thoughts and stuff, but what we do about them, that's our choice. So when people talk about bipolar never ever has to affect, it never has to stop people from doing stuff, or it never really causes people to do stuff quite in the way. It may affect overall behavior, but it doesn't necessarily force anybody to do or not do stuff. So it's there's plenty of, women are naturally what would be considered bipolar if men were that way. They're naturally what would be considered borderline personality if men were like that way. Every other woman at least reaches the level that they'd call mental illness if it was a man, but it's not. It's a woman, so therefore, she has to. It does. There are plenty of women who are nice and behave and stuff all month long, all year long, whatever. So, it's just not quite that. I mean, you do have to be sympathetic to people, particularly women. And guys have feelings too. Well, I know we pretend we don't, but we have feelings too. We just, or maybe we have so many feelings that we just, it's just a further waste of our energy. It's just too much of our energy just to do something about it. But, or to express them in the way that people want. The genders are going to express things differently, naturally, and that's part of what I was saying. It's perfectly fine. We're not, men and women shouldn't be calling each other mentally ill. But delusion versus reality. Okay. Here they're
Well,
talking delusion in terms of fear. Now, I would say that I bring up the point very repeatedly about the difference between guilt, shame, and fear in most people goes beyond what is necessary and what is good. It doesn't mean that there's not, they're all meant to, they're meant to serve their function. Guilt forms the moral function, shame forms the social function, and fear is a very physical sort of safety issue. So,
well, essentially, I've come to the
but
point
fear is a
that
good way to make people delusional. And gossip, they talk about gossip. So if you're not a witness to I'll just leave my closing thoughts on the subject probably, and you'll say a few things. But I would say that people have their so many people are accusing people of even execution level things in life, and it's because they're all like, well, I've got no. If you're not a witness to something wrong, don't say bad things about people. And sometimes it's not the best thing to spread bad things about people. You don't have to bring up names when you are talking about issues sometimes. Now, I do say some things should be reported to proper authorities. I'm not saying that at all, but what are your thoughts? Delusion versus reality. How do you tell the difference? What do you do about it?
That is, you know, that is really the point. You know, what is real, right? Is that which is existential, right? So whether it be consciousness, or whether it be, or whether it be the physical, it is existential. So how to check yourself? Well, I mean, if we get shot in the head right now, we die. I mean, it's very certain, it's very real. So these are the things. So refer to existential things as far as what is real. Now, guilt, shame, and fear. You know, I mean, for me, I've come to know that whatever guilt or shame or fear, ultimately we are only our own, you know, arbiters, and we answer to our own selves. So if I'm guilty of something, I'm really guilty to myself, or I'm ashamed of myself, or I'm afraid for myself, for various reasons. But as far as, you know, I mean, looking at the example of gods, usually if we're talking about the powerful ones, they do whatever the hell they want. So that's really kind of what the teaching is for us humans, is that okay, you can be ashamed, or you can be guilty or fearful, but you can also allow yourself
Okay,
everything.
we're blending into thoughts or things. So, okay, well, there is egregors, tulpas, tulpas. Is that how you
Tulpas,
say it?
yes.
Yeah. Well,
Tulpas.
anyways, thought forms. Thought forms can definitely be a real thing. There's different types of success too. If you think your success is only you're a millionaire athlete, performer, whatever, with a constant barrage of the opposite sex, or whatever you think success is, well, then you're probably not going to be successful. But if your thoughts have directed yourself into thinking that okay, you can be a success, or maybe I'm not. It's like some people end up on disability in order to become millionaires. Because they were on disability, then they could figure out something that either influences society so greatly in one way or another, or whatever. I sort of missed the boat. I did invent a brainwaves. Well, I mean, I didn't have the mechanics for the whole thing, but according to a musical scale, tempo, and stuff like that, you could adjust it in that way. Actually, play the thing like a musical instrument, but you could put in the brainwaves you want. The the beta gamma sync, although that's really a oversimplification. That phrase is quite the oversimplification of the trance state. You're really doing the whole string of it, but you got the brain waves and stuff like this. So it's a sound healing device, but basically, and then the binaural beat stuff broke out over the internet and MP3s and stuff like this. But I still think a device to carry with you and stuff like that's something people use. But they had those radionic machines back in the day, and some of them didn't even work. So your faith does something, but there is something to having actual frequencies.
Yes, of course, and as far as this making people do something great. I mean, definitely. I mean, in my case, I believe the same thing, and it's just about making a choice of overcoming it. I mean, just like anything else, and making a choice of achieving, and it's a motivator for sure.
So your thoughts directing, okay, the eternal youth. Okay, they're talking about not just age, although you've talking about that you definitely believe in a. It helps if you back up a little bit. So they're talking about the white light visualizations. Equating does the same thing, talking about imagining darkness and that sort of thing. Well, it doesn't matter whether it's light or dark. You're really doing the same thing.
Um,
It can have.
yeah, but there are some differences in the force. Yeah, if you imagine one or the other. Yeah, but essentially, essentially,
But it's sort of to bring up that diagram. I think it was the yellow. I think it's the yellow here. I think it's the yellow here that's talking about the kids or something like that. What about the children? Um, how many shows have used that voice very particularly? Well, I mean, it's a fact of life. That's why they do it that way. But but yeah, it's regardless of the physical condition. Youth is like, basically you're non-suffering, aligning with whatever. And you got the violet flame too. They're picturing the violet, so the honey colored and the violet and the white, and you know that color visualizations. And there's certain colors that could make you happy. So a yellow color, visualizing yellow, could make some people happy. It could anger some of us. I don't know. Remember that episode? If you've My uncle had old Superman comics we were not supposed to have been reading when we were kids, because they were his collection that we weren't supposed to be in. But the or that but one of them had something of there was an animal that was angry by yellow, like the bull and the red, but the anger of yellow. Anyways, the intention is the joy and all that sort of thing, and being pure of your energy, or just working with your energy to make the best of it, rather than a needless striving sort of thing. But the last one before the after I'll say that when I'll get to time and the dimensional implications. So we've kind of indicated something about dimensions and stuff like that, I would say.
Yes.
So I guess this is the multi-universe sort of one thing happened on different levels. It's like different possibilities are being played out at different times. Could be how some people talk about this, but let's hear your thoughts briefly here.
Well, so
2D, 3D, 4D.
You are asking about dimensions as a whole, right?
Well, Ekankar talks about the planes. We've
Yeah.
brought that up a lot. So yeah.
I didn't catch the words you used exactly. Was it dimensional or dimension?
Ekankar talks about the planes. So there's
No. I know. I remember that. I'm just asking.
2D,
I'm just asking about
3D,
the topic.
2D, 3D. What?
Yeah, I'm just asking about the topic. You said dimensions and
time and its dimensional applications. So they're
oh.
talking about 2D,
Oh, that's
3D,
very good.
4D.
Oh, okay, that's fantastic. I just recently found I found one video on Kalabairava and on how Markandeya became immortal through the worship of Kalabairava, how time stood still for him and he never turned 16. So yeah,
What's the fuzz? Okay, I don't hear it. Yeah, if you're if you look at the screen,
So that definitely. I mean, if we worship a certain energy form, a certain deity that is connected with time, I mean, then we can really get into some applications. So spirits and deities, but other than that, I don't know what these guys would do with time. But it's said that if we become masters of time, we also become masters of space. So it's very convenient, and it's very serious.
Starting to fuzz again. But I think part of the some of the sound thing, you're clearer, I think, when you actually are positioned right instead of just right up in the screen.
Okay, so how is it now?
Well, yeah, but back up a little bit, it'd be perfect. You can tell that Skype shows your.
Yeah, I know, but basically, I'm still holding my phone so that my face is seen. So that's why. My arm's tired a bit, so I'm moving
Oh,
around.
I don't know why you're not just I thought you talked about leaning up against something, and that's what I have.
Yeah,
Not
if I can put this, I don't.
okay. So I'm going to basically do the. I mean, it's not terribly unique of a phrase, so it's something that I think it's fine that I can just repeat. So while I repeat this phrase, you interpret the subject of miracles. Anything is possible, 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 anything is possible. Anything is possible, 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 anything is possible. Well, I think that's, if I recall right, that's 77 times. So I think I said 77 times.
Well,
Um, well, you
so
were supposed to talk over me, so that's your
yeah,
turn.
I was
So
supposed to talk over you,
harmony,
but I wanted
gratitude,
kind of
harmony,
to let you do that. It was pretty nice. So
well,
basically, the subject of the subject of miracles. Well, anything is possible. Anything is possible. But okay, how am I gonna get that, and what am I gonna do? That's the whole. That's the whole, question. So first of all, the mantra is
harmony,
nice.
harmony, and gratitude.
Yeah. So
I think that sums up the point. As I'm saying, we're trying to get through this, not make this 10 minutes a thing. Um,
okay. So okay, so let me just get through this as well. So basically, yes, anything is possible. You have to know the appropriate method to make anything happen, and you have to actually accomplish that method. Now, harmony
okay.
and gratitude, that's very good. As far as we do have to. I mean, if we put our attention once again beyond the physical, if we put it on the spiritual, something divine, be it again the who or any other divine sort of chant, then definitely we're going to get in touch with the harmony and the gratitude. But it's important to know that these are really consequences of spiritual travel, spiritual development, or whatever. It's not the main. It's not the main. It will come as a consequence. So if we all we got to do is we got to work towards transcendence, and we will definitely become harmonious
Yeah, well,
and
using the word transcend, as I'm saying, I'm trying to summarize it. We're not.
yeah.
I'm not trying to be rude. As you said, we really should probably finish an hour ago. But the
No, it's okay. I have
it's
time.
I only have so much time. That's what I'm saying. And
Okay, so
as I'm saying, I'm trying to get this. People aren't going to watch a 5-hour video, or maybe they are, but maybe one person.
actually, yeah, why not?
That makes a difference. So people, we really wanted a couple sentences. So you said you said it well. The first like 2 or 3 sentences that kind of basically summed up entirely what one was saying. But okay, what she was saying is in terms of, yeah, you said transcendence. So transcending what you were trained. So you're trained to feel, and the universe is designed. So therefore, going back to the design of the universe well, I'm not saying this is what she said, but the Quran talks about the being the created in the best of standing, and we're created upon our rightful nature and all that stuff. So it's kind of getting in line with that kind of spirit of teaching. Belief makes real, and so they're asking a bunch of questions, talking the who, what, where, when, whys of belief, and what does belief do? And if you pay attention to what it's doing, what does that do?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you're asking about belief. So, yeah. So as we said, belief is I believe in something. I can probably, let's say I believe I will be successful. But when we're talking about faith, that's usually I would suspect is a thing on something that is greater than yourself. So that's really more useful. And so yeah. So we start with belief, but faith occurs. They say
With
faith
some
occurs.
experience.
What?
Faith isn't quite a knowledge, whether it's an empirical knowledge or not, but faith is sort of something it's like belief, but it's not just passed on. It's something supported to some degree. Whether it's faith in the wrong idea or not, that's how it is that it's
Well, yeah,
belief, faith, and knowledge are kind of steps of the same.
pretty
But,
much.
but
Basically, faith happens when we really realize things. When we have spiritual experiences. Actually, by seeing, by knowing, do we get that faith? So that would be the kind of the
yeah,
more
primary
powerful.
connections other than just its tradition or something. Oh, and oh, they're mentioning being around someone with. Okay, well, we don't need to go into further into that, but yeah, what that does, belief making real can definitely involve the company that you keep, and that's again why I
Yes.
say social media for itself. If you're not trying to share or influence in a particular way towards particular ends, I mean, get off of social media. Seriously. I know that if that costs me some subscribers to get people better their lives, it's whatever. So the path to joy, they're saying the basically the alchemy of emotions or thoughts into. Uh, you're not able to back up, I guess. Alchemical transfer of emotions and thoughts into different ways, like hope into uh, pessimism into optimism, stuff like that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Connection,
was.
truth, transmutation. Oh, well, that's actually step one. But okay, verifying transmutation, maybe. Creation, being creative. And then, you know, perhaps enhancing your thing. It's like, for example, if you do 17 minutes a day of ritual prayers or something like that, maybe you want to bring it to 31. Maybe you want to bring some scripture reading into that. And yeah, okay, the path to joy, the path to joy. We're most of the way through, so we can move quicker. We can get through this. So I'm asking your thought.
Yeah. So basically, as far as the alchemical transmutation of emotions and so forth. Yeah, once again, we see that this is basically it's a mental I mean, it's basically an astral path because emotions are on the astral plane and then there's the thoughts on the mental plane. So basically, yeah, we can transmute these things, but that's not really the end. That's really gonna be a huge downgrade on the whole alchemy. I mean you can sit there all day trying to get your anger into joy or goodness or whatever, but one invocation of, let's say, Jesus is gonna do more higher positive effects overall on you. So it's really important as far as how we do it. We got to choose the most, let's say, the most powerful methods, and then we're gonna really that's gonna really enable us far more than just some psychological, self undoing or whatever.
Uh, a deep thinking. So I guess we're in the subject of meditation. I know there are different types of meditation. So um, some would say Om and Unicult. Oh, if this is in a separate section, Om. Om is the Unicult version of Om.
Mhm.
So
Well, once again, this is really, you know, is, if I remember correctly, it is, if you know, the chakras have like petals, and on those petals they have other syllables. So they have like the main seven syllables: lam, vam, ram, yam, ham. That would be, let's say, om, and then al, and then ha. So that's the eighth syllable for the chakra that's above the head. But on one of these chakras, there's also the syllable am. So these are two different syllables, and I mean, one
Then
should
it would
not
be
replace the other.
is it with the dot, or is it or is it
So
mm?
basically, the way the word is said is aum, but
No, no,
there's a
I'm
syllable
saying you're saying if you're saying if you're thinking of a diagram of bija mantras, I was just wondering whether you knew whether it was the or was it the you know, because it's cerebral m, or is it the is it is it is it this
it's the
one?
u, so it would be aum. Yeah,
No,
and
no, no. As a bija mantra, you'd have So every Sanskrit letter would have be on the 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 view again. But yeah, if there's doubt, look at the screen. You don't need to hold it. Just set the phone. If it slips, it slips. Whatever. Um, but anyway, so you're saying basically any sound that you're looking at to get you where you're going.
no, I'm just saying that
Imagination,
you should not. You should
imagination.
not.
So imagination is salvation. Um,
I mean, imagination can be the gateway to salvation, but it's not salvation. I mean, once again, if we equate this to soul travel, then imagination is going to help us to leave our body. It's going to help us then to travel and to get the experience and to get the realization, get the salvation. So it's a gateway, yeah. And
they're saying so. What's being brought up here is the you know basically using your imagination to develop your brain, and not just being boring or not being just fantasy. Washa doesn't use those words, but let's just say that. So the electromagnetic spectrum and the brain. So I've talked about brain waves. We've talked about auras. So what else do you think should be added to the conversation before we go on?
oh, well, you know, I mean, there's I don't know if a lot of people talk about basically that. There's probably a lot of talk about okay, how can I enhance my aura? How can I cleanse my aura? But an important aspect of that is actually destroying your aura. So, for example, if we talk about necromancy or other kinds of death energy practices or destructive energy practices, a lot of the times, what's our aura at the time is going to get really destroyed or devoured or whatever. So that's an important aspect of